Tonight's episode of the Tuesday Night Cigar Club is brought to you by Drew Estate. Come experience the rebirth of cigars at www.drewestate.com and download the free Drew Diplomat smartphone app today to discover nearby retailers, RSVP to special events, redeem points to win exclusive Drew Estate merchandise, and much, much more.
Might be a big mistake, but I'm having too much fun to wait. Flag her down when she comes back by. That one's yours and this one's mine. Bring another round. Bring another round. Bring another round. Bring another round. Bring another round.
Here's the suckers.
Good evening, brothers and sisters of the Leaf. Coming to you live once again from, well, all over the fucking place. It's the Tuesday Night Cigar Club. Tonight the boys conclude their 7th annual Spooktacular Drunken March to Halloween and Boorific Boozathon, or some really scary shit like that, as they discuss the brand spanking new slasher sequel, Halloween Kills, while reviewing the Cohiba Serie M cigar from General Cigar Company, paired expertly, as always, with a truly terrifying amount of tasty craft beers. It sounds like we're in store for one hell of a good time, folks. So sit back, light 'em up, and enjoy the show. And, oh yeah, happy Halloween, you sexy motherfuckers.
Well, loyal listeners and viewers to the show will remember that on our last episode, Yak Boy put me on blast and spent a good deal of airtime criticizing me at the start of the show. So I thought I'd beat him to the punch tonight and start things off right away before he has a chance to speak with some current news.
Okay, yeah.
Everybody loves them some current news, right?
That's what the fans keep asking for.
Look, there's lots of stuff going on in the world today, folks. Vaccine mandates, endless product shortages, Chinese hypersonic missiles launching into outer space. But when I came across this article on Vice.com, a very reputable site the other day, I immediately said to myself, this article just might be the most TNCC article ever written. And so, of course, I had to share. You guys ready?
Yeah, let's hit it.
Y'all ready for this shit?
Am.
Here's the headline. See if you can see why it caught my attention. Missing drunk man spent hours helping a search party look for himself. The little synopsis underneath, he helped look for himself for hours before realizing who the search party was looking for. All right. This is as reported by Indian journalist Shamani Joshi for Vice.com. This is good. A missing man in Turkey accidentally joined his own search party and looked for himself for hours before he realized he was the target of the rescue mission. According to local media reports, Bayhan Mutlu, a 50-year-old man from a rural region of Turkey, was out drinking with his friends when he wandered off into a nearby forest and didn't return. Worried about him, his friends then alerted authorities, who sent a search and rescue mission to find him. According to Turkish news channel NTV, when news of the missing man got out, efforts to find him intensified in nearby neighborhoods, with a large group of volunteers joining the mission. This search party was calling out Mutlu's name for hours when suddenly a man from within the group spoke up and reportedly said, "Who are we looking for? I am here." It is unclear how Mutlu found himself in his own search party, or how his friends didn't realize that he was right under their nose the whole time. Duh, they're just as drunk as he was.
Yeah.
Police were able to safely escort Mutlu to his home. And then it ends with this. This isn't the first time a missing person joined their own rescue mission. In 2012, an Asian tourist who went missing in Iceland was also found in her own search party after she reportedly failed to recognize her own description. The missing man is wearing black Vans and a Tuesday Night Cigar Club t-shirt. Meanwhile, I keep searching for myself. His name is Matt Cade. I'm still looking for myself. This article made me realize just how long it's been since we've done a show live at Romocraft headquarters and drank with Skip and his boys. We're way overdue for a visit because every time we go there, this could very well happen to us. So tonight's show, guys, is dedicated to Behan Mutlu, who I nominate to be made an honorary member of the TNCC. Can we get one to Behan Mutlu?
I second that motion.
Here's to you, Behan.
Welcome, everyone, to the Tuesday Night Cigar Club, episode 148. Tonight, our 7th annual Spooktacular Drunken March to Halloween and Boorific Boozathon comes to an end.
Ugh.
And after the last 3 of these, this one has a lot to live up to, so don't fuck it up, you 3. Doc, you want to start us off with a song? It's a special night.
The goblins will get you if you don't watch out. They'll take you and shake you until you shout. Stop, look, and listen. It's Halloween. The witches and the broomsticks and the pointy hats, stirring things around in their big black vats. Stop, look, and listen. It's Halloween.
Brilliantly done, Doctor, with supporting work on the air stand-up bass by our own Jason Tuttle. Well done, boys.
Oh, man.
Dude, this is
My favorite time of year.
This is the end of our March to Halloween. I'm pumped. We've been talking about this all year long, and then before we know it, it's already over. After tonight, we go back to watching horror movies and talking about them, and it just be basically the same thing. But I won't be drinking out of my sweet Michael Myers tiki mug.
Nice.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah. I think we're gonna have a great show here, boys. But before we get started, I would like to talk about something very important to all the men out there in our audience, possibly some of the men, a segment of our male listeners and viewers. I have something very cool to share with you, boys, and you good folks at home. If you are listening to us, now is the time to switch over to our YouTube channel. Why listen to us when you could soak all this handsomeness in on the YouTubes? Am I right, Ted?
Oh, you're right. I soak it in every time I see it.
You're gonna want to see this. I am holding in my hands some insanely cool personalized groomsmen gifts from your one-stop shop when hunting down gifts for your special group of dudes, groomsday.com.
Groomsday.com.
You name it, they've got it. What I'm going to show you here is the Midnight Smoker gift set,
No, look at that.
which includes a personalized glass top humidor. You can see it here on your screen on YouTube. It says the Tuesday Night Cigar Club on it.
Nice.
It's got a very nice tight seal. It's got that lovely smell of Spanish cedar. It comes with a little water humidifier. You're going to want to put just a Bovita pack in there. One should do it. But it's a very nice, handsome humidor. What else do I have, Tut, you ask?
What do you have?
Oh, I don't know. A Tuesday Night Cigar Club flask?
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah?
With our name engraved on it.
Our name engraved on it. Get this. The Midnight Smoker gift set also includes an engraved cigar lighter. Look,
That's a nice one.
TNCC engraved on the lighter.
Yeah, I'm liking this.
Comes in a handsome little box with a little felt layer over it. It's very classy.
It could come just in cardboard, and that's a nice enough.
If you're
one.
found stumbling around in the dark with one of those, you'll never have to share the same fate of Bayhan Mutlu. They'll know who you are.
That's exactly right. But wait, there's a whole lot more. Also included is this really cool traveling cigar case. I think this is the bamboo finish. It's got Tuesday Night Cigar Club engraved on it. On the other side, TNCC, and it comes with a cutter that fits into that little holster.
That's actually pretty sweet.
How cool is all this? It all looks really sharp. Can you imagine how happy this would make that lifelong friend? That dude who's always had your back, no matter what names you may have called him when you're sloppy drunk and pissed off at 3 a.m. Or get this. If you don't have a super close friend like that, and you kind of picked your groomsmen half-heartedly because your wife-to-be has a whole bunch of bridesmaids and you just need to fill some spots, you could get the Midnight Smoker gift set, get everything personalized with just your name on it, and give like each individual thing to somebody. Like, hey, Jeff, you get this. Hey, Brad, here's your lighter. Let's see, Tom, flask for you, buddy. And I can't forget you, Todd. Thanks for the bachelor party and picking up the tab at the strip club. Here's a humidor with my name engraved on it. That's a life hack, boys.
That does sound like something you would do.
I just saved you a ton of money for your groomsmen presents. They all look really sharp. So head over to groomsday.com where you'll find all sorts of other cool items like whiskey glasses that can hold a stogie in them, personalized koozies, cufflinks. Get this. You can have personalized footballs made. You and your boys can go out and toss the ball and be reminded of your wedding day. They got it. You name it, they've got it. The website is super easy to navigate and the shipping is super fast. So get your ass over to groomsday.com and I think you'll find exactly what you're looking for. What's that website, Todd?
Groomsday.com.
Could you do one of your little musical jingles?
Groomsday.com.
There you go. That's what I was looking for. Groomsday.com. So yeah, this is really cool stuff. And I'm actually, since I've got 4 things here and there's 4 of us, I was going to divvy them up between us. Yeah, because I think last time we did one of these, you got the glass top humidor.
Did I?
Yeah, I think you did. Didn't you? Or did Tud get the glass top humidor?
I did not get the glass top humidor.
Yeah, boy, you little snarky. You got the humidor last time. The glass top.
Did I?
Do you really not remember?
I don't remember. You know what? I'll take your word for it.
What's that?
I'll take your word for it.
I believe you did get a glass top humidor at one point in our 7 years. I understand it's been 7 years. It's been a while. But yeah, last time we did one of these kind of on-air spots. So you know what, Tut? You can have this bad boy to keep your show cigars in.
Throw it over to the doctor. Throw it to the doctor.
Well, I was just thinking the doctor's got a really nice big humidor, and this one, could just perfectly fit your show cigars in it. And I don't know when I'm going to see the doctor again ever.
Appreciate that, Todd. I think you should have that.
Well, then I will gladly take it.
There you go, Tut. This is yours. It's got a really nice felt bottom. You can keep your show cigars in there so you know not to smoke them.
Like that little glass top's going to stop me.
At 2 a.m. when you're about to get lost in the woods and you go for a cigar, this will make sure you don't grab one of our treasure show cigars.
You better have an iPad app that'll lock that thing remotely.
You know what, Doctor? I'm going to give you this flask.
Oh man, I got something in my eye.
Doctor, this flask has you written all over it. I know you go to a lot of movies and like to bring a little gin with you to liven things up. This will be perfect for that. It'll fit into your doctor's blazer.
Man.
Sir, once again, you cannot bring your own flask into the theater again.
And Yak Boy,
of course, Kate is speaking in general theories only.
Yak Boy, you are going to get this handsome TNCC engraved torch lighter.
I'll take it. I am a fan of fire.
I'm going to be sending all these COD. I'm not going to pay for shipping. So if you just be ready to, it's going to be pricey, but be ready to pay out the nose to get these. Okay.
Roomsday.com is where I got my flask. Turns out Matt Cade is quite the ass. Stop, look, and listen. It's the TNCC Halloween.
Roomsday.com. Well, there we all get a little Halloween treat in our goodie basket. How's that?
All right.
All right. Well, folks, it is the Tuesday Night Cigar Club, so there are a few rules. One rule that we have here, and that's that we smoke a cigar, a premium cigar, no non-premiums anywhere around here, paired with some delicious craft beers, and also expertly paired. Some have said with a feature film. And tonight is going to be a good one because it's one of those, man, I could probably count on one hand how many brand new movies in theaters we've featured on the show in 7 years. In fact, I figured Doctor and I were talking when I walked into the movie theater last Friday to watch tonight's movie, Halloween Kills, the new Halloween film. The last time I was in a movie theater was the last time we did this, which was Terminator Genesis in November of 2019. That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, we don't do this very often. But
right, but wasn't it Dark Fate? Was that it?
Oh, Dark Fate.
Dark Fate.
Yeah, sorry. Genesis, I think we all went together. That was like 5 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah, good save, Doctor. Good correction. All right. Well, tonight, we usually do this, talk about the cigar first. Tonight's cigar, man, it is a really eye-grabbing band on this thing. And the presentation itself is pretty impressive. It is the Cohiba Serie M by General Cigar Company. M is in Michael Myers. Yeah.
See what you did there.
Man, this thing has a gorgeous little fishtail cap on it, a closed foot. It is a 6x54 Toro. Wrapper is Nicaraguan Corojo. Binder is Nicaragua. The filler is Nicaragua from Jalapa and Esteli, and Dominican Republic with some Piloto Cubano tobacco. I'll say price point till later. While Cohiba is obviously one of the biggest names in the industry, primarily for its Cuban blends, the cigars produced for sale stateside and elsewhere by General Cigar Company are very popular as well, to say the least. We've reviewed two Cohibas previously on the podcast. The Spectre, remember the $100 cigar,
Yeah.
and the Cohiba Royale. And nothing about either of those really blew our socks off, other than their lofty price tags. So this should be interesting. There's also something very interesting and unique about tonight's cigar, the Serie M. It is the first Cohiba to be rolled right here in the United States. General Cigar Company chose the legendary El Titan de Bronze on Calle Ocho.
Hey, I've heard of them.
I believe run by Willie Herrera of Drew Estate's mother-in-law.
That is
For the honor of bringing this blend to life. The M is for Miami boys, not Michael Myers, but we can pretend for pairing purposes. And that's all I'm going to tell you about the cigar, because that's all I know about the cigar. It is just a gorgeous. I love a closed foot. I love that the just a really kind of leathery feel to the wrapper, and it came in when you get it in the cellophane. It actually has a sliver of cedar in it, which not only protects that cap from being broken by when you're traveling with it and whatnot, it kind of supports the cigar. But I'll be honest, when I took it out of the sleeve, it was pure cedar, and it's still. Oh, there's a little tea there now that it's kind of had some room to breathe. A little bit of green tea and cedar. That's nice. Tut, you'd wasted no time setting that motherfucker on fire.
Yeah. I was glad that you said, "Oh, what you're supposed to do is light the cedar, and then you light the cigar." I was like, "Ooh, I blew right past that."
I twisted off the cap, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a little clip. And what are you getting so far? Anything?
Yeah, bread across the palate, a little bit of spice on the, not a lot of spice, but a little bit of spice on the retrohale. It's kind of a nice little burn right now. Yeah, I had no problem twisting the tail off of it, so I didn't have to clip it. It was a little bit I almost pulled the whole, man, this is not really drawing well, and then I was like, oh yeah, let's light that closed foot. But yeah, just a nice bread note, not a toast note, but like a doughy bread note across that palate, and then you got some nice little spice play on the retrohale.
Dude, that is a potent spice on the retrohale. That's no joke, man. My eyes are watering a little bit. That is, for me, is very strong.
Yeah, for me, it was like a nice little spice play, not very strong at all.
Oh man,
I mean, that's just me.
Yeah, well, I'm getting an extremely potent pepper spice out the nose. Holy smokes, I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah, it's quite nice.
Yeah, I see your bread. I see your bread on the thing, and then there's definitely a woodsy component. I don't know if you had said that or not, mixing in with that breadiness. But man, for me, it's hard to get past that retrohale.
We're starting to get a nice little smoke profile traveling up the cigar, coming out the end. I wonder if that has anything to do with the rollers. It's got to.
Well, it does. And you know what? The cool thing about El Titan de Bronze is I believe they have one person rolling each blend. It's not like a team of rollers like you see in most factories. I believe it's a solo endeavor, which puts a lot of responsibility and a lot of quality control on that one special person.
Bob,
I
did a bad job.
I doubt their name's Bob. Could be.
You never know. They might be like, "Hey, my name's hard to pronounce, and I'm not forcing the gringos to pronounce it, so you can just call me Bob."
Woo. Man, that spice. I need a drink. Speaking of drinks.
And I say that because I learned that that's what some of my Asian friends at UT do. There's Peter, but his real name's not Peter. There's Victor, but his real name's not Victor. It's just they are like, we chose these names because we don't want to force you to have to pronounce it and listen to you mangle it.
Wasn't that nice?
Yeah, I think.
I wish that drunk Turkish guy would have done that, so I didn't butcher his name in the opening thing.
I always took at the feeling like he's with the search party, and all of a sudden he like figures it out. Then he's like, runs behind the corner of a building. I found him. He's over here.
Grabs his own collar. Got him.
Is there a little fruit coming off of the very front of that retrohale? It's almost like a little fruit, like a fig type deal coming through there.
I'm still in the heat of that spice. I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah.
It could also be that you're drinking a beer with pumpkins in it.
Oh, and what a beer this is.
Pumpkins are a fruit, I believe.
Vegetable.
They have seeds. They're fruit.
I've heard it both ways.
Well, look, I need a drink, and I don't see a better time for our resident beer expert, the mixologist of all mixology, the Big Daddy Kane of pouring beers, the Eric B. and Rakim of making Jack and Cokes, the Biz Marquee of banana daiquiris. I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't know even where the rap thing came.
You pour what I need.
Yak Boy, you of course are the proprietor of O'Brien's Irish Pub in downtown historic Temple, Texas. And as always, I'm going to turn to you to tell us about what we're drinking tonight. Back in the old days, prior to COVID, we would all, of course, congregate here in the corner of No Hope together and drink the same beer and compare notes. That was awesome. But one of the few cool things about our current situation is that now we all get to go out on our own and find 4 different beverages, and then we see how 4 different things interact with the cigar, and just hopefully at the end of the night you get introduced to 4 cool new beers. Lately, it's been like 2 cool beers.
Stay away.
2 just stay the fuck away from this beer. But let's see what we're in store for tonight. You know what, Yax? Since I'm the only one drinking out of a Michael Myers tiki glass, why don't you talk about tonight? I'm starting things off. I've got a couple beers tonight. First up, I'm going with this one, Yax. Can you tell us a little bit?
The Elysian from Elysian Brewing, Elysian's Full Contact IPA. Of course, Elysian been around since '96. We are all fans of their remarkable Space Dust IPA.
Oh, that's a good one.
So tasty. Full Contact, 8.8% ABV, 60 IBUs. Is it rolling in on that 60?
Yeah, it's about right.
All right.
It's well, go ahead. I'm sorry. You can finish up.
I was just gonna say that the Elysian, they're out of New York, and Full Contact. I forgot to say it is an Imperial IPA.
Is that mainly for the strength, the alcohol content?
I think so. Yes.
It does have some maltiness, but it's subdued. I'm not a big fan of the malt heavy Imperials. That bitterness is beautiful. It's just got a really smooth profile, especially for 8.8. I was really relieved when you can't tell in the Michael Myers glass, but when you pour it into a pint, it pours very light in color, which that put me at ease. I tend not to like the Imperials that a little bit darker because that tends to imply a little bit of more maltiness, a little more heavy, kind of fruity. No, this is just a very hop forward, easygoing IPA. I actually like it quite a bit. I'm not going to let it usurp Space Dust. We all love that beer, and I drink a lot of that one. Didn't Elysian? Didn't they sell out to the big boys, Yax?
They did. I can't say that they sold out. They, of course,
sure. I'm not saying it's a negative. I'm just saying they're no
they
longer.
Elysian, did you sell out?
Distribution.
Hey, Elysian, did you sell out every beer in the warehouse?
Yeah. So I picked this one tonight, boys, among my other 3, because Full Contact is how I would describe Michael Myers in this film. When you talk about football practice and there's in spring training when they just can touch each other, they snap it, nobody can get hurt or whatever, but then we're going full contact. Mikey kills about 40 people in this movie tonight. It is full contact, training pads off. It is go time. I've got some other evil beers in the fridge, which I'll be switching to here shortly, but I just thought a strong beer named Full Contact for a very violent full contact movie was a good way to start the night off. And I can see you all agree with me. What's Tut drinking?
The good Tut is drinking the Monkster Mash.
Monster Mash.
Monster, not Monster.
Monster.
The Monkster Mash is a pumpkin ale from the Spencer Trappist Brewery.
Oh, those
Of
beautiful
course,
monks. They're not really monks, but
No, they are monks.
wait. I thought they weren't. I thought they just bought the Trappist license or whatever, the recipes.
We do this.
No.
We do this every time we do a Spencer beer.
No, they're actual monks.
They're actual monks. Okay, then awesome. I love those monks.
So it is a. We have, of course, done several of their beers. Most recently was episode 141 when we did their Imperial Stout.
It's all right. I mean, but it wasn't great.
We reviewed movie Nobody. He said it was all right, but still, that was. I mean, we've had many of theirs. The Monster, it's a 5.2%. Doesn't really have it is an imperial stout, so it's low to no IBUs. So
Yeah. I'll tell you this, I am working for my pairing grade this bill. So not only does the Monster Mash play off the Monster Mash, and Michael Myers is one of the classic Halloween monsters, killing monsters it is, but my traditional Halloween shirt
He's worn it for 7 years in a row, ladies and germs.
is the graphic on this can. And I have to say,
dude, sit up and hold it next to your belly.
I have to say, this is a beautiful beer. It is. It's like a double / a triple, except it's not as heavy. It's not as malt heavy or just that heaviness that the triples have, but it still has that wonderful just flavor explosion like the Donda do, except it's just a little bit brighter, a little bit crisper. You can taste the pumpkin in it, which is kind of an interesting little deal, but it's not forbearing. Mincy was talking about a pumpkin pie. There's a little bit of pumpkin pie spice coming through it, but it's not heavy. So it's like you got that nice triple type deal that the little Trappist like sprinkled in with some pumpkin spice. It's a great beer.
Wow, I was for sure you were going to hate it. I have
I've only had one pumpkin beer so far, and I hated it. I like Spencer Brewery, so let's give them a shot.
I've hated all the pumpkins, but which I'm not a fan of pumpkin pie. I don't like anything pumpkin.
That's terrible. Pumpkin pie is delicious.
Wonderful.
I like pumpkins out on the porch. That's where they belong, not in the kitchen. But really, I'm sounds like you're a big fan.
I am a very, very big fan, and it's pairing wonderfully with the cigar because I
was going to ask how that myriad of flavors you described are going with the smoke.
But they're not combating that spice off the retro hell at all. So the only thing it's doing is it's adding to the palate draw, which, frankly, I think the palate draw on this needs a little something to mix it up with. The bread's nice, but that's just a one note that kind of gets old after a little bit. So I love what this is doing on the palate, and then the spice off this cigar is absolutely showing up nicely off of the on the retro hell pairing with this. So I'm really liking this pairing.
You sound like you're in heaven, my friend. The spice actually is downshifted a little bit here, an inch in. It's still definitely there. But that bready, very warm kind of toasty, enjoyable flavor, back-ended by I'd go with cedar, not just because it was packaged, but I mean there's just that kind of very mellow, woodsy note on there. But so far, I'm most impressed with just the construction of this thing and the smoke profile pouring off of this thing is
it's beautiful,
gorgeous. It's a really pretty cigar. I like the gold and green on the band, and so far just a really mellow draw that's kind of balanced well with that supercharged spice on the. It reminds me a little bit of the Herrera Steli Miami, also made at El Titan de Bronze, which was a very cedar heavy draw with a very spice forward retro. It reminds me a little bit of that, but there's a little something more here going on the draw with that breadiness. It'll be fun to see where this one develops. All right, Yak Boy, keep you on your toes here. I'm going to go with Doctor. What is the Doctor drinking tonight?
The Doctor, of course, is still that time. He went with the Paul Lanner Oktoberfest.
You never go wrong. Doctor. Can never go wrong with Polliner or an Oktoberfest during our march to Halloween. Good job, Doctor.
How can you not?
When did we do the Polliner, Yaks?
The last Polliner that we had done, we did on, or that I could find, was that episode 62, Killing Gunther.
Did we do that during Oktoberfest?
We did. This was their Salvatore Doppelbock.
Okay, I remember it was the Bach, but I didn't realize it was the Oktoberfest, the Marzen.
This Oktoberfest, of course, it was either standard what they would serve now during the time, and of course, it being Paul Lanner, they being one of the in Munich, Germany, one of the oldest breweries in that area, one of the big six, started back in the year of our Lord 1634.
That's
387 years ago. So they have some experience making beer, a thing or two now.
Now, Yak Boy, those same people are not still making the beers, am I correct?
Yes, this beer causes you to live forever in horrible pain.
Drink
As
up,
a
Doc.
trade-off.
Boy, did I choose poorly.
The Oktoberfest, it's 5.8% ABV and a little bit hop, just around 20 IBUs. So, but it should just be tasty all around.
Tasty it is, Yaks. I know I've had the Hef in the past, but this is a good beer. Obviously, Oktoberfest is the tie-in, it being the month of October and the month of All Hallows Eve. So that's my movie tie-in. It is nice and tasty. It's got a nice color to it. Going down easy. I wish I had myself a nice German bratwurst smothered in onions to go with it.
Ooh, that'd be
If I
nice.
don't, I will just I'll just get another bottle.
While you're doing that, Doctor, I will say Tuttle and I found ourselves at my local brewery this last weekend for their big
That's
Oktoberfest
correct.
celebration, and we ate a big old sausage with some mustard on it.
It's a euphemism.
The
Thank
German.
you. I was wondering whether that's what that was. Thank you.
I'm just going to go with that. It was German sausage at Oktoberfest.
It sure was.
It was funny though. Tut texted me and said he was going to be meeting a friend in my little village I live in at our local brewery and have a beer. And I was like, yeah, you know what? We don't have the kids for the day, so we're actually going to be stopping by there later. Maybe I'll get to see you. Oh, that is pretty, Doc. That is pretty poor. The beer podcast guys totally clueless that it was Oktoberfest. We show up at my little brewery and there's like 2,000 people. It was a madhouse, but dude, the fortunes aligned, and as I was standing in line for 20 people deep to get a beer, I see 2 seats open inside at the bar, and I'm like,
Go get them now.
I told
Get
the
to
wife,
the seats.
I told the wife, get to the seats. So she went and got our seats. I got a beers, and dude, we didn't have to stay in line the rest of the night. We had the bartenders were awesome at Barrow Brewing Company in Salado, Texas. They took care of us all night long. Tut joined us a little bit later after his company left, and we ate some sausage, had some beers. It ended up being a fun little night.
Yeah. I want to thank my friend for inviting me to the Super Spreader event that I didn't know was going on. But
Oh, you're not sick. You're not sniffling.
so far, so good. So far, so good. That Pfizer vaccine, man, does its job.
It was funny though that Tut hasn't been around like more than 5 or 6 people in 2 years, and then next thing you know, he's like battling his way through the
Why? Why?
Dude, I'll just tell you guys, he was so drunk he didn't give a shit. And he said that very loudly, like, if I would have known I was going to be in a goddamn super spreader event. Like, oh, geez. I got to live here, dude.
You'll have to go end up looking for him later in the woods.
My name is Matt A. Cade.
He did get lost down by the creek later. Luckily, he was found quickly by himself. He found himself very quickly. It was hard to miss him in that goddamn pumpkin shirt.
That's why I wear it. Situational awareness.
Well, bravo to Barrow Brewing Company for holding a fantastic Oktoberfest event. I'm actually going to be switching to their one of their beers, their evil beers here shortly.
Yeah. By the way, they're Texasaurus Rex or whatever. It's a German style.
It's Rex Lager, yeah.
Yeah, it's a German style lager. That was pretty good. Their Bach was really good. Bach hit a little bit heavy.
Yeah. Was that their Oktoberfest? Did you try their Oktoberfest or no?
Yeah, I tried the Oktoberfest. Well, now I'm about to give away about how much I was drinking. But their Oktoberfest, their German lager, and their Bock. I even tried their stout.
Nobody's listening to it. You just listed off 9 beers.
I do have a beer podcast. What do you expect?
Okay. Well, that only leaves you, Yak Boy, as our resident beer expert. I can't wait to see what you paired for our last episode on the march to Halloween.
Bud
Well,
Light.
I've been sitting on these. Got them early in the summer.
Oh my God, your ass must be so. Oh, you figured. Oh, Jesus.
What the
Right.
hell?
From Middleton Brewing,
Good
I have
and evil.
their Evil and Good IPAs. Evil, of course, as Michael Myers was diagnosed as pure evil by Dr. Loomis, world-renowned doctor. Doctor, Is that correct? He is world-renowned.
Yeah, he is, Yak Boy. He is world renowned.
So Middleton Brewing, located in wonderful San Marcos, Texas, started back in 2011. The Evil Ale IPA, it is a double dry hopped, juicy IPA. Rolls in at about 7.2%. I couldn't find a listing. They didn't give anything on their IBUs. It is hoppy, so I'm going to probably say it's right around 50, 60. Not too hoppy.
Okay. How long ago did you buy these things?
I got them back in May.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But they are higher, and the guy said they can last if you just keep them, at temperature. So I've been waiting. I was like, I saw these, and I was like, I know when it comes Halloween time, we're going to have something.
And
I know what it is.
Somebody's that effort will be reflected in your beer pairing score, my friend.
C-.
Dude, for any of us to sit and not drink a
And
beer,
not drink.
Oh, I know. There's many a times where I'm like, they're just sitting there staring at me like, drink us.
dude, for any of us to have beer right there and not drink it for 5 months, that's
I've been waiting on this. And I mean, it comes out, like I said, it is juicy, almost, more on the hazy side, but man, it is delicious. I'm not going to lie.
it's worth the wait.
Every time Yak says juicy, I just hear Biggie in my head. Oh.
Well, yeah.
Like I said, after I finish the evil, I will, of course, have to cleanse it with the good.
Of course. How is it pairing with the cigar?
Like I said, this one is actually really good. I was concerned because, like I said, I couldn't find any info on the hoppiness. So I was wondering if it was going to be really hoppy or anything like that, because it is obviously like I said, double dry hop. So I was figuring it was going to just be, hop blast, but it was not. It's right in the middle range there. And of course, I mean, it hits all the really good notes. I mean, it does have citrus, but it's not really sweet in that sense. So I'm liking that.
I wonder if aging it for a couple months let settle down a little bit, let some of that.
I think so. I mean,
stuff die down.
I don't know. It was one of those, like, person there was like, I got this evil IPA. I'm like, evil, you say? I like evil. It's like, we also have good.
I am impressed by all of you boys tonight. All of you boys did stellar tonight. And you know what? You'll just have to tune in to see how you do on the scoreboards, my friends. You know what? You mentioned the fruitiness earlier. You kind of got on the back of the retro. You said it was kind of like a fig.
Yeah, it's like right up there, about right there, coming right up through the nose, right on the back part,
right in the sinuses, right up.
Yeah.
There is kind of not a sweet raisins.
Yeah.
I can use your catchphrase, but there is a raisin-like kind of.
I thought there was.
Before I initially lit up, just on the cold draw, I was like, it was really sweet for me, but I didn't know if I was picking up something from the cedar, having just been inside with that cellophane.
Yeah.
And I was like, there is definitely a fruit sweetness here, but I'm not really getting that right now, or that I don't know if maybe
it's very, very subtle, and
It takes a little while, but it is on the back of that retrohale. Now, especially now that the peppers died down some into medium territory, there is on the very back end of that a kind of raisin-like sweetness. Not sweet raisins, not that impactful.
Yeah.
It's much more gentle, kind of delicate raisin on the back there. But man, if that retro isn't playing really well with that bready and cederness of the draw, it's a very pleasant cigar.
Yeah. So far.
I'm liking this a lot more than the Spectre, the Cohiba Royale.
Well, I was about to say, I was thinking so far until I hear the price on this bad boy.
You know what?
But it can't be worse than the Spectre.
Cohiba's all over the place. I mean, you go to some of the big online retailers, you know, and they're doing fivers of Cohiba Blue Label or, you know, Black Label. You get up there when you get in like the Cohiba Nicaraguas. The Cohiba Connecticut was a really good cigar. We actually might feature that down the line because that is the best non-Cuban Cohiba I've ever smoked. I actually have some for us that we should do on a show. It's a really good, really impressive cigar.
Okay.
But I'm digging this one. It's nice. And it's got more than just one or two things going for it. It's got a couple of things going for it. So I will revisit. You know who else makes some damn fine cigars, Tut?
Our friends at Drew Estate.
That's right.
All right.
And Drew Estate is about to make someone a whole lot richer. During its latest freestyle live show on the company's Facebook Live page, go to facebook.com/Drew Estate Cigar. Drew Estate announced that it will hold a Bitcoin sweepstakes with numerous incredible prizes during upcoming freestyle live events, including a grand prize of one full Bitcoin for a lucky fan to be announced during the February 17th, 2022 edition of Freestyle Live. As of today, that one Bitcoin is valued at $66,000.
$66,000.
Entry into this unheralded Drew Estate Bitcoin sweepstakes is simple. During each of the company's 3 upcoming Freestyle Live events, October 15th, you missed that one, or hopefully you didn't miss it, November 11th, and then January 20th of next year, the company will randomly select the names of 5 people who attend the online show and comment during specific times in each broadcast as potential winners of an assortment of fantastic prizes. The 5 winners from each of these shows will create the contestant pool of 15 people eligible to win the grand prize Bitcoin. As I said today, valued at 66 grand. You got to tune in to win, boys and ghouls. So you'd be crazy not to. Do it. Get this. At their upcoming Freestyle Live event on November 11th, not only do you get eligible if you participate for the Bitcoin grand prize, they're giving away a $42,000 electric Ford truck, a ATV that's like 15 grand, and one of those huge Drew Estate mega bars for your house that's valued at almost 2 grand. They are giving away some insane stuff.
Is this stuff that we can register, or are they going to be like, no, your friends at Drew Estate?
I think they do that thing at the end where, like, you know, if you're in any way whatsoever affiliated with yeah.
Well, in that case, I'm just going to go in there and I'm going to flood their comments with Chubb Rock is the greatest rapper of all time.
I say keep that Bitcoin. I want that bar. I think my wife would love that. I think my wife
Bitcoin, you could be like 50 bars.
My wife would love that monstrosity dropped into our house.
I was just picturing that.
As a Burhun Magul or whatever the Turkish guy's name was. He doesn't know where he is. You could just claim the prize under his name.
I'm going under the name Ron Honcho.
There you go.
Man, I'd love to win that Bitcoin and then immediately sell it.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, nothing like this is unprecedented in the cigar world. The amount of stuff they're giving away, it's awesome. Only Drew Estate would do something like this. True disruptors in the industry, much like ourselves,
much like Chubb Rock,
much like he was disrupting. But before I move on, I'd also like to take a minute to talk about something very cool. Cigar World. Cigar World is an online site for cigar smokers. There you can get cigar news, reviews, and a lot more. Also on the site is a cigar research panel called the Testing Lab. You can sign up to give your input on new cigars by taking surveys and testing cigars. I know you like that, Doctor. Research, testing.
Love a good lab environment.
Getting your fingernails dirty with true science in the world of cigars. Check it out at cigarworld.com/testing lab.
Blinded him with science.
Boop, 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 boop. Science. Well, boys, we've talked about what we're drinking. I take a sip to wet my whistle.
Oh, yes. Let's get into this bad boy. I am ready.
We've talked about what we're smoking. Now's time to talk about what we watched. 2021 just opened in theaters and on the Peacock streaming channel this last Friday. Halloween Kills. We actually did the previous installment of the Halloween franchise, Halloween 2018. We did the same format where we go to the theaters and watch the movie and then dropped into the podcast and talked about it. So tonight's show is going to be a little different. Usually I take you scene by scene through the movie. So you're going to have to forgive me tonight because I didn't have the privilege of having it at home to study and rewind and all that. So I'll probably be lumping some themes together. I'll probably, if I skip over something and you're like, hey, that was important, jump in. It's going to be a little more freeform tonight, what we do. Maybe freestyle live, you might say. We're not going to be giving away Bitcoins, though.
We can't afford that. Come on.
No, I'm sorry. We're going to be giving away some little Bitcoins. A little bit.
Tonight's we're sponsoring a giveaway of chit coins.
I have
You know what?
over here somewhere.
You know what? Tonight we should do a giveaway. I'm going to give away this Tuesday Night Cigar Club engraved flat. Oh, God, Doctor, I'm sorry. I promised that to you. I'm sorry.
I knew I was never going to get it.
No, that's got your name on it. But yeah, we did this with the first Halloween, and it was a good show. As longtime loyal listeners will know, the Doctor and I especially, to say that we're hardcore fans of this franchise doesn't really scratch the surface. The amount of time we've spent watching each individual film repeatedly, from John Carpenter's 1978 original to the sequel, to the, I don't know, probably 200 viewings of part 3, to the probably 500 viewings of part 4, even the shitty ones, 5 and the Buster Rhymes part, part 8. We've seen them all, and we've seen them all in an embarrassing amount of times. Not embarrassing. I'm not embarrassed by it, but we love this franchise. It's been a part of us since we were kids. This is one of the things that brought the Doctor and I together, is sitting and watching these movies over and over and over again on VHS and not saying a word to each other, and just, we couldn't watch them enough. Here in the corner, No Hope, there's an entire wall dedicated to Halloween memorabilia. Every figure you could possibly imagine of Michael Myers, of Dr. Loomis, of Laurie Strode. It's permeated into our lives for 4 decades now. And, I think going into this film, and Doctor, I'll let you comment on this, I tried to take a different approach than when I went into 2018, the movie that takes place right before tonight's, because I went into that with, they got a very acclaimed director who'd done a lot of very serious independent films. He also did a lot of, Pineapple Express and a lot of popular comedies. He kind of gone in that route, but he was a real Hollywood director, which these movies don't usually get that kind of IMDb name attached to them. And we didn't like it. And we kind of picked it apart on that show, from what I remember. But then upon watching it again a few months later, I went into it like, I'm just going to watch this like I'm popping in part 5 or part 6 or part 8 and just watch it as a Halloween film and not that it's trying to be something different or better. Just watch it as a Halloween film and be lucky that I've got it. And I enjoyed it a lot more. I love the stuff that bothered me, the humor and the odd choices they made in the narrative didn't bother me as much. And then I will say this. I watched the 2018 film, which takes place before the same night as tonight's film, right before watching, hours before watching tonight's film, Halloween Kills. And it bothered me even less. I enjoyed it as a straight up, we got Michael back on screen. So many of the things that bothered me just washed off my shoulders. So on repeated viewings, that film I really warmed up to. And I tried to carry that attitude into going into tonight's film. Hey, it's a Halloween film. I'm going to I want to be entertained and I just want to see Michael do his thing. Anything it gives me, I'm gonna be more open to this experience than I was last time. I didn't realize I was being jaded and highly critical walking into that last one, but I really tried to go into this one with a different attitude. Doctor, you said you had the same experience on revisiting 2018's Halloween.
I did. I won't say that I enjoyed it, but I definitely improved. It was very similar to the experience that Kay just talked about. After seeing it in the theater, I didn't like it. Then again, about 6 or 8 months later, whenever it was available for rent, I watched it and it bothered me less. There were still things that bothered me about it. And then I watched it for a third time here this past Friday night. So just a few days before I saw it in the theater. And it even bothered me a little less. I kind of upgraded it from not liking it the first time I saw it to it's okay. That's what I came away with. And so, well, I think Cade was able to create a better context for it by saying, I'm going in here just watching a Halloween movie, and that's the context. I just said to myself, I'm going to try and go in here with an open mind on it and not, I didn't really come up with that good of a context, but I just said, I'm not going to go in here and be super judgmental. I'm just going to go into this movie with an open mind because I don't think I did that 3 years ago.
Agreed. Tut.
I don't remember anything about it. I remember the plot. I remember some teeth rattling in the bathroom.
You didn't go back. You didn't go back and watch it. Okay.
I remember there was a scene where he killed a kid. There was a scene where he rattled some teeth in the bathroom stall, but I mainly remember that just because you noted it out how Michael still likes to play. That's his.
He's a playful slasher. He likes to play games. He did in the first one, and they picked. And
I remember the house fire at the end, and I was like, I wonder how they're gonna. He died in a fire. All of a sudden, he's going to resurrect Jason style. How are they going to do this?
Well, that's the key to leading into this film. I'm going to let Doctor actually kind of talk us into the start of this movie from the end of the last one in a minute, Doc, if you don't mind. Let me just set this up. The movie was co-written by David Gordon Green, Danny McBride, and Scott Teems.
Danny McBride.
What's that?
The Danny McBride?
The Danny McBride. He also co-wrote the last one. Based, of course, on characters in a story by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill. And it's also directed by David Gordon Green. This film takes place directly after, the same night to be exact, the events of the last film, Halloween 2018, which we were just discussed. Doctor, if you wouldn't mind, just that last scene of the film 2018's, could you kind of lead us into how that film ended?
Sure. So it's a rather suspenseful ending, especially upon the latest viewing, but we have Laurie Strode, played again by Jamie Lee Curtis, and her daughter, Karen, played by Judy Greer, and granddaughter Allison, played by Andy Matichak, or I'm not sure how to pronounce her last
I don't know
name.
how to say it either. No.
But anyway, so they have trapped Myers in Laurie's kind of compound, ranch house out in the middle of nowhere, more or less. And they've trapped him in a series of cat and mouse maneuvers. They've trapped him in the basement. Laurie has, I believe, a series of pipes, whether it's ether or something reminiscent of the original Halloween 2. But they've trapped Michael in the basement, barricaded him down there, and Laurie's been wounded in this battle, and she lights a flare, throws it down there, and the flames begin. They go outside, and I believe they're able to hail a passing vehicle, a truck of some kind, to get in it and drive off as Myers stands down there still as a cigar store Indian, and the flames begin to rise up around him. And that's how the 2018 film ended.
That was a very succinct synopsis. Thank you, Doctor. So that's where we ended. All these years that Laurie waited for Michael to escape and come find her, when he did get to her house, this basement, which was seemingly a refuge to hide from Michael and be safe from Michael, she had actually rigged as a trap for Michael, which, with her daughter Karen's help, who she had trained as a child to survive, and it obviously had a very damaging impact on their mother-daughter relationship, so much so that Karen was removed from Laurie's custody at a young age. But it all came to a head where they actually get Michael trapped down there as according to plan, and Laurie sets the house on fire, and he's locked down there, and it's when the movie ends, he's down there burning alive as the women drive off in the back of a pickup truck, much like Sally Hardesty in the back of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's always a guy in a pickup truck driving around when you need him. Sure, hop in the back. So that's where we ended things. So we kick things off tonight. In the last film, teenage Allison, Laurie's granddaughter, went to the Halloween dance with her boyfriend, Cameron Elam. They went as Bonnie and Clyde, only it's 2018, so she dressed as Clyde and he dressed as Bonnie, and we find him still in his dress, and he discovers Officer Hawkins unconscious and bleeding out on the road, where he was stabbed by Michael Myers' evil psychiatrist, Dr. Sartain, in the last film. Just a quick recap. We won't need much of these tonight because it mainly moves the narrative forward. Officer Hawkins was a police officer in the last film who apparently was on the scene the night that Myers originally committed his killings back in 1978. He really wants to catch Myers in the last film, but before he can do so, he smashes Myers with his patrol car. Myers' evil doctor, psychiatrist, Dr. Sartain, kills Hawkins, and with a little penknife to the throat. And then, in an effort to save Michael, because he wants to experience why Michael kills, and he can only do that if Michael keeps killing, and Hawkins was getting in the way of that. I could have swore in 2018 he also drove over Hawkins' body in that patrol car. Am I wrong in that, Doctor?
Yeah, I didn't remember that. I just remember that I was not at all a fan of Dr. Sartain and his involvement in the movie at all. And quite honestly, I didn't understand the need for Officer Hawkins in the first movie. I thought they could have made that first movie a little bit tighter, even on my final viewing, if they just really didn't have those people.
Well, he's still alive, and teenage boyfriend Cameron finds him. And that leads us to a very lengthy flashback scene to Cameron's father, Lonnie Elam, who Halloween fans will remember. He was the little kid who bullied little Tommy Doyle, the boy who was babysat by Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie Strode from the original 1978 film. And now we see Lonnie being bullied himself later that night by some older teens.
I think it's worth pointing out real quick, Cade, too, if I may,
Sure.
that if you are not a hardcore fan, especially of the first movie, this can be a little bit problematic for you. There's a lot of characters like Lonnie Elam, Tommy Doyle that you really, if you just saw Halloween once 20 years ago, it's going to be difficult, or 30 years ago. If you haven't seen it multiple times, these names really don't mean anything to you. And obviously that's not a setback for me or a setback for Cade. I can see it being a setback for a lot of other people, though.
For Ted, maybe?
Hello, I'm the resident, not a hardcore Halloween fan. I appreciate it and I like the movie and I respect the movie, but I've only seen it just, less than 5 times maybe. And I didn't know who anybody was. I didn't know any of these characters. And so far it was confusing in terms of just the amount of flashbacks popping in and out. But in terms of like needing to know the characters for this story, I didn't feel too set back. To me, that was just being introduced to new characters.
Okay, because I could see it as being a major setback.
And I think that's what kind of like, what you just said about the first movie with Hawkins, like he didn't really need to be there. But I think that's kind of why they did the flashback here at the beginning of the film, to take these 2 movies as they're basically one movie as they're occurring on the same day, and then tie them to the original source material. And so it works for your hardcore fans, and then it gives enough of a filler for your new people to fit it all together.
Yeah, and I think what Tut just said rings true, where to him it was just being introduced to the characters that we're going to spend time with in tonight's movie. Whereas Doctor and I have a little more history and we kind of tied it into yet another movie. But for Tut, yeah, we're getting introduced to some people that we're going to spend some time with tonight. I also think it's kind of important to realize that at the end of the last film, Lori was very badly injured as she's being driven off in that pickup truck. So there's not a lot she can do in this movie. And you've kind of got to give more weight and gravity towards some of the other characters, because let's face it, Lori can't really do shit in this movie. I'm going to get to whether that's works or not. I don't think it does, but I'm going to kind of lump all, because we see a couple flashbacks. I'm going to kind of lump them all into this opening flashback. It's already a really lengthy flashback to open the film.
I would just like to comment on what Tut said, because I hadn't thought of that. And that's a very interesting point to me, because it's showing that one's enjoyment of this film. I felt like the filmmakers or writers, I felt like they hinged a lot on stuff for the hardcore fans. And Tut's comment that, hey, who Lonnie Elam, Tommy Doyle, who Lindsay Wallace was, is like, no, they're just kind of new people that claim to have a backstory. And so, okay, that's a valid point that I didn't really think about.
Yeah, no, I liked getting that from Tut too, because it's like we spend a lot of time with those specific characters in this film, and it actually makes me kind of rethink.
Because I felt like the filmmakers it was a really good point, Tut, because I felt like they hinged a lot on thinking this is going to be cool because it's Lonnie Elam. This is going to be cool because it's Lindsay Wallace. And while that, to Tut, who's like, I've seen the movie a few times. It's been a while. I don't remember their names.
Yeah, okay. As a hardcore Star Wars fan, I see where you're coming from, because that's my biggest deal with all the call outs to old original characters and stuff from the original stuff, is that eventually you have to have a story and you have to be able to deliver on a story, because yeah, it's cool that you got these old characters in it, but what does it all mean if it's a boring deal? Yeah. But coming into this fresh with Halloween, yeah, it was just interesting characters. Like I recognized some of the older characters, like the old sheriff. I was like, oh yeah, okay, I remember him. But yeah, these guys, I didn't know who they were.
These are definite call outs, but
yeah. But Okay.
Get into this.
Well, already I'm kind of appreciating this approach they did from a different light because of what you said, Tut. That's interesting. Well, we also, in these flashbacks, find out exactly what happened with Hawkins that fateful night, because we'd heard in the last film he was there that night that Michael was captured and that he could have stopped him. That's why he ran him over with his car, because he was like gonna unfinished business, and he didn't. Turns out he was a rookie that night in 78 who got trigger shy when confronting Myers. They go into the Myers house, he and his partner. And in the original film, Sheriff Brackett finds a dead dog that he says, looks like somebody ate him. And we never see the dog. But here we actually see a dog with his stomach ripped open. We get to see things that were only alluded to in the original film, which I really kind of thought was a cool touch. And as they're going through the Myers house, the shape attacks his partner. And they recreated the original mask, the original William Shatner mask. It was damn close to looking like the mask in the original film. And as his partner is being strangled by a rope by Michael Myers, Hawkins gets trigger shy and can't get a clean shot at him. And I also thought back on this, Doctor, when Brackett's talking to the girls in the first film and he talks about somebody broke into the hardware store, they stole the masks, some rope. We never saw him really do anything with rope except maybe tie Bob up swinging upside down in the closet in the first film. But dude, he's strangling with a rope and he's killing his partner. Hawkins pulls the trigger and ends up shooting his partner in the neck, killing him instead of Myers. Hawkins is paralyzed by the moment. He can't do anything. So Myers ends up walking outside where Dr. Loomis is waiting along with the other Haddonfield Police Department. And when Loomis goes to shoot Myers, he's pure evil. He has to die. Hawkins grabs Dr. Loomis and stops him from killing Myers. So that's his guilt all these years, that he didn't let Loomis kill Myers that night. Here's the big thing that blew my mind after watching this film. I'm watching this flashback, and then I see Dr. Loomis, and he's talking, and I told Yak Boy and I watched the movie together in the theater. I thought it was like a Princess Leia thing where they recreated him digitally. And it was a CGI Dr. Loomis. It wasn't. It was, get this. There's a guy, the construction coordinator on the film, Tom Jones Jr., who they thought looked a lot like Donald Pleasance. They put him through hours of makeup. That was actually a real dude.
It was done so well that I didn't even think about it. I forgot that. Oh, wow.
It was not CGI at all. It was actually an actor made up to look like Loomis, a different actor, the same one who did the Loomis voiceovers in 2018 when they listened to the recordings of his Myers tapes. Another guy did the voice, but dude, that was actually just the construction coordinator made up to look like Loomis.
So well done. I didn't even notice. I didn't think twice about it.
I thought
Bronsky.
I was so certain that it was CGI, that they'd recreated Loomis digitally.
Well, I'm probably sure that they did, or they probably did some tests and they were like, there's no way, we need something. Which in like the majority of this film was, it was all practical. So I can respect that even more.
Yeah. Doctor, did you think it was an actor playing Loomis?
No, I was in the same boat that you were in, only because we saw that with the Star Wars Rogue One movie where they had a Peter Cushing and they had a they had a Grand Moff Tarkin and a Princess Leia. So I was certain. I thought it was a really good recreation, but I did not know And I read afterwards, like you did, that was an actual guy.
I was ready to slam it, honestly. It's like, it was just looked like it was too good. And it turns out it was just a dude.
Unfreeze Donald Pleasance. He's been in crypto spaces this whole time.
How are you going to slam it for being too good?
Because it was too
slam it for being entirely unnecessary.
It was too polished. It was too. It was just.
Get out of here!
I was wrong. Can I say that? I was wrong.
It was too polished. Looks totally fake.
I'll say this. Speaking of it, he looked too good. By the way, they end it with Myers standing out in front of the Myers house on his front lawn, stoically, as a doctor said, really good, like a cigar store Indian, just standing there with the cops. And they do an identical crane shot to the original Halloween when the little Michael Myers was on his front lawn, that high crane shot up. I thought the flashback stuff looked and felt really, really good, but it gave us a ton of screen time, developing little Lonnie and the Officer Hawkins backstories, which I didn't think made a lot of sense considering adult Lonnie isn't much more than a throwaway character in tonight's film. And Officer Hawkins doesn't have anything to do in this movie other than give Lori someone to talk to in their shared hospital room as they recover. Her very rapidly so, but we'll get to that later. What did y'all think of this flashback? It was really cool to see, if you're going to pick up after the first film and ignore 2 through 11, I thought it was really ambitious to try to fill in the gap of what happened that night. And I thought they pulled it off really well. It's actually one of my favorite things in the film, the way that they showed how if Myers got captured that night, which they said in the last film, I liked that they showed us how. I actually dug it, and I think they pulled it off really well. It looked like very similar to the original film.
Went on a little too long for me.
The Lonnie stuff especially.
But the whole flashback sequence dragged on far too long for me.
I thought the Lonnie stuff, especially because it ends up being kind of unnecessary. But I thought the Myers house stuff with Hawkins and his partner encountering. Oh, and by the way, I should mention, at the end of the night, Hawkins' superior switches guns with him and says, just say that Myers got a hold of your gun and shot him. And so he got off. They never even knew he killed his partner.
Was that necessary? It was an accident.
But again, we're giving a lot of backstory and weight to a guy who just lays in a hospital bed for this entire movie.
Yeah.
Well, it almost feels to me like they were, like from the prior movie. Obviously, some people, probably came in and like, what? It doesn't make any sense. And it feels like this opening is sort of almost like fan service. Well, people asked us questions. We'll answer those questions at the start of this movie.
I saw it as, when I look back on it, you've got your main protagonist, Laurie Strode, who you set up at the end of the last movie with her belly slit open. She can't do anything in this movie. So you've kind of got to build up some other characters and eat up a lot of screen time that's not Laurie centric. And this was a very effective way to do it. It was hit or miss. It worked for me. And at the same time, like Doctor said, it was really long. It was almost 20 minutes long, I think.
It did.
What I think they're trying to do, and I've got nothing to base this off of because I don't read the backstories and the stuff and all this. But in the last movie, they made it a point to introduce the theme that it's not about Laurie at all. It's just about Michael the killing machine, and he's just killing whoever's in his path. And I think what they were doing here is that they were trying to show if you're gonna introduce that and you're gonna play with that, then you can't have that strong central Laurie character. And I think what they were trying to do early on in this is start to set it up and introduce the community as a whole, because that's one of the themes they try to get into tonight is the theme about how he interacted with the community.
You're absolutely right. The theme of part 2 here in a trilogy, because this is the second film in a trilogy. The theme very much is how Myers affected the community, and especially the key participants in that original night.
Now, does it work?
No, it does not. No, it does not. And we're going to get into that later. But I liked the nostalgia factor. And I liked that they answered some questions about that first night. I'll leave it at that.
I liked it too. I thought it was pretty cool. Did it go on a long time? I didn't really feel it that way. I thought that right now the pace of the movie was really good. I was on board and interested the entire time.
And I'll say this, as a guy who lives and breathes these movies, when Hawkins first encounters Myers as he got up from being shot by Dr. Loomis in a back alleyway, and he kind of moves through a garage and kind of escapes him, it looked like it could have come straight out of Halloween, the original Halloween 2 in 81. It looked just like Myers, that alleyway. Like, they really pulled off that aesthetic of matching those first 2 films. I thought, as a fan, I thought that was really cool to see.
I'll go ahead and say it. Cinematography, the movie was great. Cinematography wise, all these shots were really, really cool. And I love some of the shots that are going to come up later.
And David Gordon Green directs nothing camera-wise like John Carpenter, but he did his best to fit that aesthetic in these flashbacks. I appreciate that. It might be my favorite thing in the movie, the Myers house stuff. Anywho, we cut then after an opening title sequence, where usually it's just a singular pumpkin. Last time it was a pumpkin decomposing. This time it's 12 pumpkins on fire that kind of move around, I think symbolizing that this is the 12th movie in the franchise, as you see these pumpkins swirl around and burn from within, I'm guessing. We cut to Lori. As her house burns, Lori, daughter Karen, and granddaughter Allison are being driven in the back of a pickup truck to the hospital, with Lori screaming at the passing fire trucks that are zooming past them, "Let him burn! Let him burn!" And they should have, shouldn't they?
Yes. And it's still good to see Jamie Lee Curtis on the film.
Oh, it always is. She's one of my top favorite screen presences, male or female. I love Jamie Lee. But yes, they should have absolutely let him burn, because then we see Michael be rescued by the Haddonfield Police Department. And as soon as they give him a helping hand out of that basement, he proceeds to slaughter. It's kind of redundant. Michael Myers slaughters.
Oh my God.
Violently.
He opens up a can of whoop corn on some firefighters.
I've got okay.
He kills the entire Haddonfield Police Department. And here's the thing. The minute he steps out on that front porch, which is a pretty epic shot of the flames behind him, as soon as he steps out on that porch with the flames behind him and half his mask melted to his face, they know exactly that they're about to get into it, because they start.
Oh, you see the one guy like tightens his hands around. Okay, so we got that glorious shot of the fireman on behind him and Michael on the porch. He's got that pickaxe or that door axe, whatever, in his hands.
What is that called? Yaks, that tool that the firemen use?
That's basically it's just a fireman's crowbar.
Yeah. And I've only been used to Michael, squaring up one-on-one with people, to where it's like single shot kills. And so I was like, oh wait, are they really about to do this? And then all of a sudden it cuts over to the other fireman who's thumping his axe. I was like, oh shit, they're going to do this. And then he wholesale slaughters them. And this was the point where I was like, I want to know what our purists think. I want to know what Cade and Mincy think about this new Michael.
This might be one of my this is one of my favorite sequences in the movie, because in Halloween 4 from 30 years earlier, they hint at something like this when they go back to the police station and there's just dead bodies lying around. And it was kind of like, man, I would have liked to seen that, because normally you just see him go take on one person at a time. And it was like, clearly when he went into that police station in 1988, he was taking on 4 or 5 different dudes. And it was like, in this case, there's like 10 of them. I really enjoy this sequence of that.
Am I wrong in thinking that this is kind of his Vader scene in Rogue One, where you're talking about how evil this guy is and how much of a killer this guy is? And it's like Vader. You never really see Vader just, go and commit just mass mayhem.
Here's why it's a good parallel to that, because we see a lot of same thing. Here's where you can make a comparison there, in my opinion. A lot of time, you've got somebody who's got a reputation as a fearsome badass, but usually they're taking on one person, and very, very often, 99% of the time, that one person's overmatched, and you're like, this person could take on a bunch of other people who don't know what they're up against or think they know what they're up against. So that's to me, that's an apt comparison. I like the scene. I like them showing him do that. We know he can. And I think they do it very well here, because even though it's extremely violent, the gore is quick cutting.
Yeah.
I think a lot of later on, there's a lot of gore for gore's sake. And I think they have it happen quickly. He just starts whipping ass. I mean,
I loved it. I loved it.
It was one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Doctor, that was a great throwback to the police station in H4. I hadn't thought about that, because you're right. I know that those movies are not in this universe, because according to these movies, those movies didn't happen. But yeah, you wonder when Michael strolled into the Haddonfield Police Department in H4 and wiped out the whole PD. We never got to see that. This is what it would have looked like. I loved it too. And you're right. But again, this goes with my comment that this dude does not direct like Carpenter. It was very fast cuts, not Expendables crazy fast cuts, but it was literally, these guys had no time to think what they were seeing, because the minute they kind of wrapped their heads around it, he was killing them.
And I think that was an intentional pace too. I think because the first act of this thing is so well paced. Yeah. All right, keep going. Keep going. I'm all up on it.
Well, we then head over to a local Haddonfield bar that's holding a talent show of all things. And in fact, a now grown Lonnie Elam, the little boy that bullied Tommy Doyle that we saw a flashback of earlier, is in charge of amateur night at the bar. He's like the old Tom of this bar. That's a reference to O'Brien's, which will not make sense to anybody but us. And stepping up on the stage after a really bad ventriloquist act to grab the mic is a now fully grown Tommy Doyle, the boy who was babysat by Laurie Strode in the original film, to recite kind of a spoken word poem of sorts about that night back in 1978 that changed both him and the town of Haddonfield forever. He's joined by childhood friend Lindsay Wallace, again played by Kyle Richards, who played Lindsay Wallace in the original film. She's much more now. She's one of those Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or whatever. That's kind of her. She hasn't acted in years, but I thought she did really well here. I thought she held her own. And fellow Michael Myers survivor Nurse Marion, again played by Nancy Stevens. She was the nurse in the car with Loomis at the beginning of Halloween. She also made an appearance in Halloween 2. And she was also killed by Myers in H2O in the opening scene, which this movie doesn't factor in. But interestingly enough, it does make her in the franchise the only character to be killed by Myers twice. But they all get
nice little trivia night for you.
It's implied they all get together every Halloween and celebrate making out of that night alive. Real quick, Doctor, who is playing Tommy Doyle in tonight's film?
Oh man, playing Tommy Doyle, the one, the only 1980s stalwart of many a John Hughes movie. Anthony Michael Hall is playing
Farmer Ted.
It's Rusty Griswold.
Rusty Griswold, Farmer Ted. Wait, okay. There was Ian Wyatt in Weird Science. Yax, which one was he?
I thought he did pretty good. I like watching Anthony Michael Hall on screen, whether he does a guest appearance on Psych or something like this. There's something about him that I like. I don't like watching videos of him in a Austin swimming pool cussing everybody out, telling them to go fuck themselves. But we all have that moment.
We all have our moments lost in the woods, Tut.
But I enjoy him on screen. I like watching.
I actually, in these early scenes, I did like him. I liked him in the bar. I liked that he wasn't like a hothead. Like he was kind of measured in his reading up on stage, and he seemed kind of cool with the locals, especially the locals that didn't know it. Because a lot of Haddonfield is the younger generation who doesn't really know what happened that night, and he's kind of gracious with them. I thought he was really good early on.
Well, I think later on is script fault, not his fault. He's got stuff to work with here, and so he's working with it. Later on, he doesn't really have a lot to work with.
Here's an interesting side note. I read an interview with the director, and he was asked if they had ever considered bringing Paul Rudd back to play Tommy Doyle, because he played Tommy Doyle in Halloween 6. It was Paul Rudd's first screen appearance right before he did Clueless. And a lot of fans probably would think that'd be really cool to see. And I think he said it very, very well, and he made the right call. Paul Rudd is such a face, and he's known for such comedic things at this stage of his career, or Ant-Man, or Anchorman, or other movies that end with man. He's like, I was just afraid that if we even thought about bringing Paul Rudd in for this, it would just completely bring people out of the film. I wanted a Tommy that was just grounded. And let's face it, if you didn't know that was Anthony Michael Hall, if you didn't know that was Rusty Griswold, he's so unrecognizable at this point. He's got a shave.
You know who he is.
He's got a shaved head. He's kind of beefy now. He's kind of husky guy. Like, if you didn't know that was Anthony Michael Hall, the kid from the Breakfast Club, you probably wouldn't even pick up that it was him. And that was a smart move.
I disagree with that move. I'm like, if you write him well enough and you direct him well enough, then he'll give you a good performance. All right, it's the same way with putting Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting or Dead Poets Society.
I don't know. I think Paul Rudd would have been hey, it's Paul Rudd. And these movies don't need hey, it's Paul Rudd in them. Instead
you got, hey, it's Anthony Michael Hall.
Yeah, but I don't think he's got that Ruddness about him at this point.
Well, he's not an Avenger. That's true.
That was the first thing I thought when I saw him. I was like, it's Anthony Michael Hall, Farmer Ted.
He had some ruddiness. Oh, and I meant the skin tone.
Well, you get the feeling that he and Lindsay and Nurse Marion get together every Halloween and have some champagne.
Well, the bartender, who is like one of my top 5 characters of this, he tells them, he's like, yeah, they come in all the time, and they tell stories about how it was yesterday. They drink their worries away. Am I the only one who thought the bartender was memorable?
Oh, he was memorable, all right. And the way that, I'm with Cade.
Oh,
I love one in the IMAX theater with super surround sound and exquisite. I couldn't understand half of what he said.
He sounded like that recently disgraced LSU coach Ed Orgeron.
He did have a very Ed Orgeron.
Down the bayou.
But
I love this dude.
Which we're not in Louisiana. We're supposedly in Illinois. But it's just hard watching this scene because Haddonfield, again, in an entry that is not canon for this series, in Halloween 4, Earl's bar, the Oasis, was the absolute Haddonfield bar, and Earl behind the bar, he is the absolute Haddonfield bartender, bar owner. And if these guys want to give shout outs to characters from other movies,
and they do, you make it the Oasis and you make it Earl behind that bar.
Okay, I didn't have the history on that one, so I can understand why you'd be disappointed with that.
But the thing is,
and though that's Tut, that's me and Mincy projecting our franchise love, and that's you as someone without that who is just fine with it. So I think that's important to get both perspectives.
I think they're making it for both of us, though. I think there's a lot of stuff here that it's like the fans are really gonna appreciate this, and I think in a lot of stuff where the fans are really gonna appreciate this was a failure. Yeah. Earl would have had a talent show inside the Oasis.
No, hell no. But Tut, this bartender did nothing to me, nothing for me. Well, while the Strode women are getting settled into the hospital, fully believing that Michael's now burned alive he's dead, the Shape finds his first batch of fresh victims post house fire. An old interracial couple that lives near Lori's burning house, they can hear the fire trucks nearby. They get killed when the husband discovers Myers hanging out in their bathroom. This is the kind of quirky stuff from these writers and the director that doesn't sit well with me. Like, the old woman is flying a drone around. Why would she be doing that? Those little things, like, they don't belong in a Halloween film, and it's stupid. But I did like when she flew the drone into the bathroom where Myers is, he just throws it out. That was kind of cool. He has no patience for drones. I guess maybe he was in the bathroom. I mean, the guy just fought off that fire department. He's probably looking for like bandages, maybe. He also, in the last film, got half his hand blown off by Lori's shotgun. So he could have been, it's Myers. He could have been looking for some kind of bandages or something. The minute that guy goes in the bathroom, though, and turns on the light, I love that scene because Myers bashes the fluorescent light over the sink to bring back in darkness, and then he just goes full throttle. He actually grabs a fluorescent light tube and stabs it in the gut of the old black woman.
Throws it in the throat.
Or is in the throat?
Yeah. Dude, okay, first of all, I guess this is weird. This might be the running theme tonight. I like this couple. I like their banter. To me, they were fun. But what was impressive is, when Michael goes in to kill the husband, there's no hesitation at all. There is none. There's no drawback. There's no like that. You're not going to see the knife raised. You're not going to see it's just straight at this dude. Stab straight on into it, and same way with the woman. Grabs. There is a little bit of play there where he grabs a fluorescent light tube, breaks it, looks at it, then looks at her, and then just straight through the throat.
It's something new to kill with, and he likes that. I suppose now's as good a time as any to talk about Michael's kills this time around. The kills are all random and very brutal. I thought the initial killing of this old couple was great. When Myers lays the old guy, after he's killed him, over a table and just starts stabbing every knife from the kitchen into his back. Out of focus. You're focused on her face as she watches her husband be this
it's brutal
human knife rack. He literally just takes knife after knife and sticks it in this guy. Yak's theory was he was just trying to see which knife was the sharpest to take with him.
Could be. Well, he's out of practice. He's like, he hasn't used a knife in forever.
I took it as something different. I took it as old Michael theater, where he's just enjoying the stab. He's just that moment that a knife goes into a warm body is what fuels him. And as he put knife after knife after knife into that old guy right in front of his wife, making her watch him, to me, that's what the Shape is. He's evil. He's heartless. He's a great white shark on land. And this scene of him stabbing just for the sake of stabbing, it was my favorite kill scene in the whole film.
I think you're onto something, because there's a line at the end where it talks about he grows stronger as he kills, and I think that this is his way of getting some of his mojo back, is just ramming this knife.
It's like a video. It's like a video game where you can build up your power source.
But I have to mention one scene. I sent you a shot of it on Messenger when I saw it. Right when he jams the fluorescent tube into the lady's throat, and it's got a front focus on her, and in the background, they got. I'm sure it was done in After Effects. You see his reflection, you see the mask's reflection in the window behind it. I thought it was great cinematography. I was on board, and I'm loving it. Now, one thing though, he does the head talk or the head tick. And he does it twice. And I'm like, okay,
it was a bit much.
I'm going to hold on to that, because he does it after every fucking kill in this movie.
Yeah, they overdo that because it's a novelty that Bob stabbed to the wall in the 78 film, where he's kind of admiring his artwork of stabbing this guy to the wall. Okay, give it one nod and
one nod to throw away and then go on.
Yeah, they went a little too far. I agree with you on that.
The whole scene was stupid. They didn't need to have it. The only thing that could have saved it is if they showed Myers in their bathroom pinching a loaf, and like as the drone comes in, he's sitting there and he's like swats it away because he's trying to finish his shit. That would have been the only thing that could have saved it. We've just seen him take out the whole fire department. The violence here is unnecessary. Okay, he stabs the dude with the knives he doesn't need. He finally gets the one knife he likes and doesn't bury it in, so he walks off with it. Only thing that could have saved it is Myers taking a shit. The whole scene is stupid. Don't need it.
Mincy, you're stabbing me in the heart with these comments.
Hey, for the first time tonight, I'm going to disagree with the doctor. These people are actually the only people in the film.
Well, I think they did such a good job in such a short time with these two characters. I mean, literally, we get to see them for exactly 60 seconds.
Yeah, but
even with the little drone, which I kind of was like, "What's this?" They established that dynamic. You like those characters.
You cared. You cared, and you got scared.
No.
It's your horse shit, man.
I'm half Mincy, half you guys. I didn't care about these people. I thought the drone and then pouring wine, their whole getting to know you bullshit was terrible. But he was just these people. These are the only people that get killed in this movie that don't meddle and they don't ask for it. Everyone else is out there looking for him, and they get killed because they got their noses in his business.
Hey, he's a great white shark. He just kills because you're in his way.
I loved the brutality of this kill scene. It was pure the shape. It was pure the evil. I love the way it was done. I disagree with the doctor that it was unnecessary. I disagree with you guys that it was their characters were well developed. They were total horseshit.
No, I didn't say that.
I just said I liked them.
I said just in a very short amount of time, they gave you enough to care about them slightly. Like you didn't just think like it was just like two random people. I mean, you could have just walked in, and these people could have walked in from getting groceries.
Yeah,
and
you know what? Halloween 2, they had Miss Elrod making a ham sandwich. I cared more about her than I do these two.
Wrong.
Doctor, I'm right.
Wrong.
I don't care about these two at all. Don't need the whole scene. Interesting perspectives. That's why we're here, folks.
That's why we're here, folks. That's why we're here. All right. Well, as we saw in this last episode, Michael is still purely evil the way he treated this poor elderly couple, which leads me to my next beer, Yaks. If you would introduce it, the Evil Catfish from Barrow Brewing Company.
Barrow Brewing Company Evil Catfish. Of course, the Evil Catfish named for a local legend there in the village of Salado. For a catfish that is evil within the Salado Creek. 6.3%, 56 IBUs.
It's a very smooth IPA. It's got a beautiful profile. You can't really see it. It's much lighter than what you're seeing on screen here. I decided to downshift from the Imperial Full Contact because I'm getting a lot more mineral coming through on the cigar in this final act.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Right towards the beginning of the last third. Some
Okay.
of that Nicaraguan mineral is playing out with the cedar and that breadiness. And I thought that maybe a little downshift in beer's power would complement that well. And it is. It's one of my go-to IPA. I really like the Evil Catfish. Obviously, it pairs very well with our evil villain in tonight's film.
If Michael Myers had a Facebook account, I could totally see him doing some evil catfishing.
Totally. Todd, are you getting that mineral too?
I am.
I'm a little bit early, and I'm a little bit behind you on it, but I can tell that it's picking up. Yeah.
And the spice is kicking up into full territory again on that retrohale.
It is.
Man, that spice kicked back up. I love that when that initial spice that kicked my ass makes a reappearance. Yeah. And forget the raisin. It's just full blast pepper on the nose now with the mineral, the cedar, and that breadiness on the thing. It's a good little cigar. And construction wise, it's been performing great.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back in this movie. Michael also kills a bunch of bratty trick-or-treaters and a bunch of the town's makeshift militia led by Tommy Doyle, who are now hunting him down. You see, when the news breaks out in the bar that Myers has escaped from Smith's Grove Sanitarium and is now on the loose, Tommy gathers all the survivors and fellow drunks from the bar, again, Halloween 4 style, and they start scouring the town for the shape to stop him for good. Evil dies tonight, Tommy.
Oh my God, y'all totally glossed over one of my favorite scenes.
Evil dies tonight.
The doctor and nurse couple, the younger couple from the bar.
Yeah.
They go out to their car, and he's like, "Oh man, I forgot my stethoscope." She goes over to the car and she's like, "Michael Myers is in the back seat. Go look, honey." He's like, "Oh hell no." I'm sorry, I busted up. I cracked up at that.
I mean, you don't have to be sorry, but you're wrong.
Yeah.
No,
that scene and those characters did nothing. It was a cheap stab at humor. It turns out that who she saw in her car was a second escaped inmate or patient from Smith's Grove Sanitarium. We'll get into that later, but yeah.
It was funny.
Okay, well, he gets them all riled up with the chant, the mantra, "Evil dies tonight." When Lindsay, Nurse Marion, and the married doctor and nurse that Tut was alluding to come across Myers as they're hunting through the town for him because they're trained for that, they finally find him in a park, and he makes mincemeat of them all. Dude.
I love the doctor and nurse kill shots. They were great.
He stabs it's the husband's a nurse, the wife's a doctor. He stabs the husband in the eyeball.
Good looking scene.
Nurse Marion, poor Nurse Marion has a gun, but when she gets out to shoot Myers, who's on top of the car, he slams the door and she ends up blowing her own brains out.
I know.
Loved it.
He kills the wife, but get this. Lindsay runs away. And I thought this scene of her running down and hiding in the creek bed with him stalking her was by far the most tense scene in the film. You have a very still, patient Michael literally, he stops and just tries to smell her fear. And she's just a few feet away behind this tree trying to control her breathing. And this is what Halloween was based on, this kind of stuff, this kind of tension. This is what the first film was all about, and this is the only time you get it in this movie.
Now we're talking.
That scene where Lindsay is hiding from Myers and he's stalking her. And once again, like when she was a little girl, she survived. She's one of the actually pull shit off and survive. And I like that moment. It's just a really earned tension-filled scene between him and Lindsay. He killed all her friends. He killed the trick-or-treaters. And in playful fashion, he put Halloween 3 masks on all the dead bodies and put them on a whatever you call that thing that spins around in the playground.
Merry-go-round.
A merry-go-round. But dude, Doctor, I see it in your face. You love that scene.
Love the scene with Lindsay. I love even the first part when she goes up to the two kids that are sitting on the swings, and they say like, there's a guy over there, some pervert who keeps peeking out and looking at us. What does he want to play peekaboo? What are we, 3?
Yeah, and then he appeared, and then she looks, and he's right at her car full of friends that she left behind.
Thought that was a cool scene, and I don't have any problem with the violent kill scene. I think what I went with Cade on was, why are they doing this? Why is Lindsay, who's a 50-year-old woman, and Nurse Marion, who's a 70-year-old woman, and these other two dipshits, why are they getting in a car and driving around looking for trouble when they should be calling in the FBI and a SWAT team and everybody else? Why are they going around looking for that? Was stupid, but okay, whatever. But the Lindsay stuff, and when she runs from him and hides, that's a really cool scene right there. It's a
very well constructed scene. I'm going to get to that, Doctor, in a little bit. Why these survivors? I think it's a really interesting thing this film does, where all these characters that survived that original night in '78 think they're the protagonist of this film. That we're going to kill him. I survived it. Now I'm going to end it. But the funny thing is that the antagonist, the villain of the film, doesn't know who these people are or even give a shit. They have all this weight on their shoulders that they survived Michael. They stared him in the eyes.
It's a bit of survivor's guilt.
They've been living with this trauma for 40 years. And it's such a parallel to him. He doesn't remember any of these people, and he doesn't give a shit about any of these people.
And that's one of the things that I like about the direction of, him not being, once you take it away from him just solely being about Lori to where he's just basically this mindless killing machine. Now you've got a whole bunch of stuff that you can play with, and I think that's what they're trying to do.
That's what they're trying.
You've got the survivor's guilt theme. To answer your question as to why all these people would do something like this, there's going to be scenes later that I don't think they set it up right here, but I think what they're trying to establish is a bit of a just being caught up with a mob mentality. And I think that's kind of what's going on here, but they don't really establish it well.
No, they don't do it well at all, but we'll get into that later. My two favorite victims in this film this time around were by far Big John and Little John, the gay couple who get a thrill out of the fact that they've expertly remodeled the Meyer house. Dude, they bought the Myers house.
They totally gentrified it. And I was like,
it looks great. It looks great.
Okay, I was talking with the wife here, and I was like, all right, first of all, my favorite characters in this is Big John and Little John, and I love the way that they address each other as Big John, yes, Little John, and they do it like almost formal wise. Now, it's like what I also like is that we're beyond the age of, hey, we've got this gay couple, so we're just going to introduce a whole bunch of gay tropes, and you're going to laugh at it as comic relief because it's gay tropes. But I like that they didn't do that they didn't introduce this as comic relief. But they did have one gay trope that they held on and that I love, is the fact that they remodeled the Myers house. I was like, you've got this decrepit old house. Of course, the house hunter gay couple comes in, totally makes this house beautiful, and lives in it.
That's not gay. That house was run down to shit. Anybody buys it, you got to fix it up.
But they did.
They did it excellent, man. I wanted to move into this house.
They did a wonderful flip on the Myers house.
It past the graveyard with trembling knees, faces peeking out at you from past the trees. Stop, look, and listen. It's Big John and Little John's Halloween.
What are you listening to, Big John?
I will say this. Big John's spinning old spooky Halloween vinyl records. He's a hipster gay guy. And Little John just wants to watch some scary movies and eat their charcuterie board. I will say this: 12 movies in, I've seen a lot of people, mostly horny nubile teens, get killed by Michael, which this film really loses points for not having more horny teenagers get killed.
They don't have any.
No, they don't have any, and that's a signature of any good slasher film. Jason Voorhees is rolling his eyes at this movie, but I will put Big John and Little John in the pantheon of my favorite in all 12 films. I will put them right up there with the best of the best of these guys were. I loved every time we were on scene with Big John, Little John.
I agree.
I am shocked. Well, not shocked. I'm a little bit surprised to hear you say this. I am extremely glad to hear you say this because I thought I was going to get major shit for saying that one of my favorite things in the movie are the Big John and Little John scenes.
They're the best victims in the movie. They're the most well-developed. They're the most well-developed. I didn't believe that interracial couple, elderly couple, for 1 minute with that drone and their banter. It would just seem forced and stupid.
I'll go further. I didn't believe much of anyone else.
I believed Big John and Little John all the way, and that's what made every moment they were on screen priceless. These guys. I'll put them up there with Bucky from Halloween 4. I'll put him up there with, you name it, from all these 11 movies. These guys deserve to be in the top echelon of Myers victims.
Man, I don't know if I'd go that far, but
if NECA makes a 7-inch Big John and Little John 7 articulated figures, I'll put them up here in the corner of No Hope.
I'm glad to hear you say it.
Tiny charcuterie board, will that be on display as well?
NECA they'll come included with a charcuterie board and little vinyl records. Little John will have his little pirate suit on.
Oh, they'll probably be posed. They'll be posed at the end shot.
Big John will have removable bracelets.
Big John will have his removable Tuttle bracelets.
Oh my God, that was
that little cheese knife.
I have this knife, Little John.
We're getting to that. Needless to say, if the boogeyman is ever in your house, maybe the charcuterie board isn't the best place to secure your weapons. But real quick, before Myers kills them, there's a great scene where the little asshole trick-or-treaters who get killed by Myers, they stage a scene in front of their house where one of them bit into a razor blade, which is a throwback to Halloween 2. They bit into a candy apple and their mouth is bleeding. So Big John, Little John run out to help. Meanwhile, one of those trick-or-treaters runs up and steals all the candy. But these guys get a thrill out of telling kids that they live in the Myers house. You remember he stabbed his sister in the tits.
Doesn't Big John get a golf club, or is that in the neck? Is that in a later scene?
No, that's in a later scene.
I also love that Little John is about 6 or 7 inches taller than Big John. That's
Big John's the muscle. He's the muscle.
Big John's the muscle.
But dude, they get a kick out of that. They live in the Myers house. They're not shying away from it, especially on Halloween. They love scaring little kids with stories about what Michael did in their house. These are the most fully developed, believable and likable characters in this whole goddamn movie.
Amen. And hey, when they thought that the kid had actually swallowed a razor and thrown it up, they were concerned. They were going to try to help. Then when they realized it's a joke, then it's like, oh, you fuckers, you little bastards.
They're good dudes. They're really good dudes.
I kind of wanted to party with Big John, Little John.
Oh, you know that'd be awesome.
A lot of this screenwriting team's humor fails to make me crack a smile in the last film, and especially this film. In fact, most of it rose me as artificial, forced, and just their humor is unfunny to me. But I love the two Johns and everything they brought to the table. And yes, Michael does get inside their house, and unfortunately, he butchers both Little John and Big John, especially Big John. He actually stabs him in the armpit, which for some reason that really hurts me.
It did.
So tender
like it would.
It's so tender in there, but then he reaches in and gouges his fucking eyes out.
This is one of those scenes where it really gets into it. Up close.
Yeah,
he's got some thumbs
and eye sockets.
Michael's got some time to kill. He's been they keep alluding to that. It might be his goal to get back to his house. He's finally back in his house, and he finds these two gay guys eating charcuterie, spinning vinyl records. He doesn't care for this at all.
Maybe he was really just thinking green in a bedroom? Never. And why did you put prosciutto next to salami?
What happened to the carpet? Smoked almonds. That's a good choice. It's a good choice. By the way, a little pro tip for you folks at home. If you're doing a charcuterie board, you got to go with smoked almonds. Always go with smoked almonds.
And here is some trivia that I know about the actors playing the two Johns.
I didn't recognize Big John. Little John, I of course recognized from Mad TV for all those.
Michael McDonald. No, the other guy, he was in. We actually did a movie with him. Rim of the World. He was in there.
The kids, the alien invasion with the kids.
Yeah.
What was he?
Oh, he played a character. I recognized his face, and I was like, I couldn't remember from what.
He did seem very familiar.
He did have a medium-sized part in Rim of the World.
Okay. What were you going to say?
Like, obviously, his hair was different, all that stuff. But
yeah. What were you going to say, Doctor?
Well, Michael McDonald, Little John, apparently has the distinction of having been killed by both Michael Myers and Mike Myers. Apparently, he gets killed in the first Austin Powers movie.
He gets run over by the steamroller.
Yeah. That's where I know him from.
That's a cool bit of trivia. Big John, I knew I recognized him. His name is Scott MacArthur. I only saw... I don't even know if this is on the air anymore, but it was called The Mick. It was the chick, the blonde chick from Sunny in Philadelphia that plays Sweet D. Remember that show came on the air? He was, and it shows that the guy's got some range. He had kind of the same hair and same look to him, but he was her like a sort of loser blue collar boyfriend in that. But he was very amusing. Totally, he looked the same, but very different role. I'd be interested in seeing more of what he's in.
Hey, thumbs up for Big John, Little John.
Across the board, man.
All right. Well, the only real total misfire from my viewpoint at this stage in the movie was, remember that second escaped Smiths Grove Sanitarium patient that we mentioned that Tut got a kick out of earlier? He's still on the loose, running around Haddonfield. If you remember in the last film, Dr. Sartain caused the bus to crash, and all the inmates escaped, and they wrangled up everyone but two, Myers and this guy. And he acts as sort of an accidental decoy in that whenever he shows up in his white asylum scrubs around town, people assume he's Myers and start chasing him in hot pursuit.
Yeah.
I made it work. Even though this guy's like barely 5 feet tall and looks like the blackjack dealer from Vegas Vacation with stringy long white hair.
That's an insult to that man.
Yes, it is.
Insult to the blackjack dealer.
I thought it was that guy. I thought it was.
No, dude, he looked like a fucking David Crosby.
David Crosby.
Yeah.
How cool would it have been if they had actually hired David Crosby? Hey, speaking of which, real quick, it's worth mentioning, none of you guys said anything. Speaking of long, stringy white hair, Tut got a haircut. The ponytail's gone.
Oh, wow.
Now that didn't even notice.
That shows how laser focused Yax and I are on the show.
It was time.
I didn't recognize him at the brewery over the weekend. Jenny was like, holy shit, is that Tut? It's like, yeah.
It was time.
Next thing you know, he'll be remodeling that garage like the Myers house. There'll be some green drapes hanging up.
Well, here, let me turn the camera and shut. No.
He'll have some Halloween jazz music playing.
Looking good, my man. It's good to have you back.
Thank you. It's good to. It actually kind of feels back. I started losing myself. Didn't know what I was or who I was.
Much like when I grew my hair out during quarantine and I found myself putting a ponytail in. Tut sounded like he had the exact same thing where one day he looked in the mirror and was like, I don't know this guy I'm looking at.
Tuttle's garage has some new drapes. His hair no longer looks like he's from Planet of the Apes.
I was just watching TV and I saw a picture of Steve Bannon and I was like, no, I gotta.
Yeah, you don't want that. You don't want that. Well, this plot point with this other escape.
I do not look like I come from Planet of the Apes, mister. I might have, but no.
He was just riffing, working on some lyrics.
A little noodling.
He's just noodling, man. Just working on some chords. Well, this plot point comes to a head with this other guy when this poor crazy bastard, who's not a homicidal maniac, he was actually at Smith's Grove. He was harmless. He shows up at the hospital where Lori is in search of help, just as Tommy is leading the entire hospital waiting room and staff in a riotous chant of "Evil dies tonight, evil dies tonight." And then this dude shows up, and when they see this doofus, they chase him around the hospital for what seemed like 2 hours. Trampling any poor sick person who gets in their way. Dude, there's chicks and old ladies in wheelchairs and doctors are like elbowing them out of the way. I couldn't help it. Yax, you were sitting next to me. I've never laughed this much at a Halloween film. It
was hilarious because I'm just sitting there with this whole scene and I'm like, because once again, I'm like, okay, first of all, I realize half these people have probably never, in the context of this movie, in this movie world, never thought about Myers. They haven't, but I'm like, for someone like Doyle and everyone's like, it's Michael Myers. I'm like, dude, he's like a tiny, like you just said,
he's a midget.
I was like, do y'all remember he was
from David
Myers at like 6'5" and
it makes no sense how bloodthirsty and crazy everyone turns so quickly. And when the Looney Tune, despite sympathetic Karen, Lori's daughter, attempting to help him, jumps out a window in slow motion to kill himself rather than be beaten to death by the mob, it's supposed to be this poignant scene, I guess, but it was just so unnecessary and so unbelievable and so stupid. The whole thing made me laugh from start to finish. This whole hospital chaos, riotous.
This is a scene. This 5-10 minute thing here. There's a message here. I don't know what their message was. I had thought about it, and I still can't figure it out. Don't give me a mob mentality bullshit.
Listen, it took real quick, Dut, real quick. It took Trump 4 years of brainwashing those mentally challenged ding-dongs to storm the Capitol on January 6th and get them fired up enough to do something. It takes Tommy 10 seconds of evil dies tonight to turn doctors and nurses into bloodthirsty, revenge-driven Charles Bronsons. It makes no sense. What? Because he's not charismatic. Tommy is not at all a charismatic leader. He's just a meathead.
That whole thing is stupid, and like you said, Cade, it seemed to go on interminably. It was dumb, and the whole chanting, the evil dies tonight, the way everybody went nuts. If you're trying to make some sort of pointed comment about a mob mentality, it failed. It was supposed to be some political satire. It failed. It's just dumb, stupid, senseless. And if you were laughing your ass off, I can understand. But you know what? You goddamn weren't supposed to. That was not their intention, was to make you
I've
laugh.
never laughed this hard out loud during a Halloween film, and it was not intentional, and it was just so poorly thought out and stupid.
Well, I mean, if at least the TVs in every TV in the hospital started playing the little Halloween 3 little, and that would drive everybody crazy into a murderous rampage.
If he was doing Evil Dies Tonight, and it was all boop, 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 boop. Okay, maybe this was
go along with that. Then there's this subliminal message.
Now, granted, I will give them credit for here because I immediately thought this was a commentary on the January 6th Capitol riots, but this was filmed way before that ever happened. So I think it's kind of a happy accident. If that's what they're trying to commentate on, the
accident. No one even happy about it.
Like I said,
I'm glad you said that because I didn't know that.
I mean, you don't go through this long thing unless you're saying, because it seems overly costly for filler in a film, because you've got so many people, you've got a riot, you're killing this who just turned on this.
It's completely unfathomable that this little dwarf would mistake for Myers.
I mean, he literally shuffles. I mean, he can't. He's like the smallest person in the room.
We were wrong. It's not. It's Oswald Cobblepot, man. It's.
Well, one, I think for me, this is where the timing fell apart, because the first act of this film was so well developed time-wise and pace-wise. I thought that it was just pushing right along through it. I was enjoying it. I know you might not have liked it. I know you probably have holes and there's people that you don't like and all this shit. But to me, it was very cool. It was a fun ride and I was on board with it. But then once you got it to this point, it's like all that momentum that you build up just kind of shifted gears and you kind of threw all that away. And I was just kind of leaving. I was just kind of left going, what's this crap? I do think there was supposed to be some sort of comment on the mob mentality type deal, because I will say this: how long was it since the first one and the last movie? This is what, 30 years? 40 years of every Halloween, them commemorating this stuff. 40 years of a small town telling ghost stories about this guy. You sit there. I've lived in little small towns. You all have lived in small little towns. People talk. You get something that happens like that becomes urban legend and it becomes an urban myth. And if people are that traumatized, they're going to stew in that for 40 years. So that's a little bit of the motivation behind it. Now, I'm not saying that it was done right. It wasn't done right at all. It fell apart. I mean, the whole movie falls apart here.
It kind of does.
I can see what the directors were trying to do. They just didn't do it.
But it started at the bar at the talent show where half the audience didn't know what Tommy was talking about. Most of this town doesn't know. And they established that in the last film. There's a conversation between the teenagers where it's like, so what? He killed 5 people in today's day.
Yeah, that's a good point.
In today's day, that's nothing. Like, we have school shooters who kill 30 people. We have mass murderers who kill 10, 15 people. Like, 5 people, that's really nothing in the grand scope of today. And in the bar, when Tommy's giving his speech, the black married couple, the African-American couple, the nurse, they come up to him like, we never knew that story. We've moved here recently. So it's established that most of the town isn't even aware of this little incident, but everyone in this hospital is suddenly frothing at the mouths.
Yeah, that just blows holes in
what
bodies handicapped children to get to this guy.
Swamp tossing them.
What was left out, is like, you say in a standard, police report, like you hear someone on the news, even now, your local news station, if a criminal escapes, because they already have all of the stats on Meyer, he's been in lockup this whole time, right? So if he is an escaped convict, mental patient, whatever, during these news reports, you hear they would immediately start telling you, "Oh, Michael Myers, he's a white male, blah blah blah,
6'5", Caucasian, probably wearing a Halloween mask and a jumpsuit."
Right. So they would tell you all these specifics. So literally, if these people looked at the news thing, they would say, "Oh, that guy. Well, he's not 6'5".
He's
Yeah.
He's 4'12".
Hey, speaking of one of the most disappointing characters I have in the entire thing is the Black Sheriff. I thought, from just a visual, I liked this guy. I thought that this guy had a great screen presence. They did absolutely jack shit with this guy. There was nothing about this.
He was
guy.
in the previous movie, and he did jack shit then either. He's kind of a non character.
Yeah.
Real quick, guys. I am done with my cigar.
Yeah, I'm just about there.
Right before I ended it, I switched to my final beer of the night. I've tried to get this on the show so many times. Yak Boy, in the spirit of Big John, who got his skull broken by Michael Myers, I am switched over to the Broken Skull IPA by Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Steve Austin's Broken Skull IPA from El Segundo Brewing in El Segundo, California. Started back in 2011. Broken Skull rolls in at a 6.7% and 67 IBUs. I don't know if there was like some sort of symmetry in that, but it's
I'd say the IBUs are a little high there, but I don't want Stone Cold to come after me. So
cracked open a beer in your face.
This one's
I tell you what. I tell you one thing, I like that Michael Myers sumbitch. That guy can come in and kick a lot of ass, but I tell you what, once we got to that hospital, the damn wheels fell off. I don't know what the fuck they were trying to do there. That sumbitch didn't work for me at all. I'm going to have me one of them Broken Skull IPAs and just drink about it for a little bit.
I will say this. It has the best aroma of my three beers, and it does have a citrus component to it that really complemented the last bit of that cigar. Really brought a nice blast of fruitiness and sweetness to the end of the cigar. I wish I'd started with the Broken Skull. I'm not just saying that because Stone Cold made it. I don't.
Find you, son.
No, dude. Actually, this beer would have paired beautifully with tonight's cigar. Going back to the cigar, man, that mineral component that showed up in the final third that blended so well with the cedar and the breadiness. The fact that spice kicked back up in the final act, and man, for me, that mineral brought it a really nice game changer flavor profile to the end. I like the last third the best.
It was. I had switched over to my good ale from Middleton, just about almost down to the last for my first glass of it, and that mineral, and like you just said, that breadiness. This one is much darker. It's a little bit higher. The ABV is 8%, but it is, and it's best if I read it. It is a West Coast double IPA with Cascade, Mosaic, Citra, and Amarillo hops. So it is I'm not going to say that it's super hoppy. It's not like in 80 or 90. It's still, I'm going to put it right around that 50-60 mark, even with the variety of hops. But that last third of the cigar with this beer, that breadiness, very wonderful, because this beer has less of a citrus component and more of just that bread, and that matched really well with that last third on the cigar. So okay. I really liked it.
Tut, is your pumpkin beer still rocking and rolling well with the cigar?
Yeah. Well, what was interesting is that I would agree with you that standalone, the last third would probably be my favorite part of the cigar. But the interesting thing is with this beer, I find that the first third was my favorite part of the cigar while drinking the beer. Once the minerals started introducing, it started contrasting a little bit with all the flavors that the Trappist beer was doing. So it was like a little bit odd, whereas the cigar was kind of a little bit out of the way, except for that heavy spice coming across the retrohale.
Yeah.
All in all, still a really great pairing. Really fun cigar. I liked it.
Okay. Yeah, I did too. This is by far my favorite Cohiba that we've done on the show so far.
I agree.
Price point, Tut.
Oh man, I don't even know where to go. Cohiba's all over the place.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I really don't know where to go. 18?
18.
I'm just really, all honesty, just throwing that number out.
It did last quite a while. It was a slow burning cigar. It did get a little hot there towards the end. I had to kind of give it some patience there at the end. Yak Boy, Tut says 18. What do you say?
I don't know. This one you said, this is their first and contracted out with Herrera's company. So
made in America.
Oh man, I still think it's going to be a little high, but I'm going to go 13.
18, 13. I'm going to go 29.99. Let's see where we're at here. Oh shit, I win. 29.99.
Wow.
That happens.
That's a toughie.
What'd you say, Doctor?
I said it's amazing how that happens.
Start calling you Little John.
The funny thing was
It's
that
amazing. I don't understand your aggressiveness.
right before you mentioned that price, I was thinking, well, that cedar stick was put in there, so it's probably 23.
I think it was put in to maintain the integrity of the roll and also to give it a nice little something. Yeah. Yeah. Shit. 29.99. I hit it on the head.
Amazing.
Even if I doubled my price, I wouldn't even.
I think that was right around the same price point as the Cohiba Royale, which we didn't care for. It had some nice things going for it, but we weren't fans. It's still a third of the price of the Spectre.
Yeah, but come on.
Yeah.
It's hard to justify that.
Good cigar.
Really good cigar.
But
It's a good cigar.
It's a really, taste wise, it's a good contender. Price wise,
I mean that
get out of
to
here.
be honest, I mean there's $10 sticks that I would just say blow it out of the water.
Yeah. It's hard.
For a third of the price. That 29 is a tough sell. Everything else about the cigar, fantastic flavor, construction.
Yeah, no, I was a big fan. But yeah, that price point is lofty.
It is.
Leave it that. But that's Cohiba. You're either getting fivers for 30 on Cigars International, or you're paying a premium and smoking something good and yeah, 30 bucks.
I feel like I'm paying $10, giving 10 for a cigar and paying 20 for a name.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. Okay. Well, I wish I would have switched to the Steve Austin Broken Skull earlier. It really introduced it a kind of zesty brightness that I think it would have really done well with that cigar. But the other cigars, the other beers did good too. So, okay. Moving on. That's what we do here. So while the two elder Strode women are hanging tight at the hospital, still under the false impression that Myers will come for Lori there eventually, the youngest Strode, Allison, her boyfriend Cameron, and his dad Lonnie, who is a local legend for actually going inside the Myers house as a kid, although he finally admits now after 40 years that he lied about that the whole time. He was warned to not go in by Dr. Loomis, if you remember the original. Lonnie, get your ass away from there.
It's away from there.
He told everybody he went into Myers' house, but Loomis, if you watch the original film, told him to get the hell away from there. They all head over to the Myers house as they figure that's where Michael's ultimately headed due to his paths. They got a map. This killing. He's heading back home. He's heading back to his house. Lonnie and his son get slaughtered fairly quickly, with Cameron, especially the young guy, the teenager, meeting an especially nasty death as he gets his head shoved between some staircase rails and just bashed, 50, 100 times.
We should say that at least the thing about Lonnie is that his skull is incredibly thick. He survived that meeting.
Oh my
up
God.
until the very end. And even then, Myers begins to walk downstairs and figures out he's still alive? Son of a bitch. Ugh!
Goes back and kills him some more. That's a Myers thing. Oh, you're dead? I'll kill you some more.
No, what the Myers thing was is he knew that the girl was watching and he made her watch.
He likes an audience for his art. He does. But then Allison stabs Myers in the back with the pitchfork that Big John and Little John, again, Doctor, a throwback to Halloween 5. Remember the pitchfork scene in the barn?
A movie we should never throw anything back to.
No, we shouldn't, but
should not be anything to honor that piece of shit.
This is not our first pitchfork stab scene we've seen in the series.
And also Big John and Little John, they got that pitchfork at a really nice antique sale. It went so well.
It looked great on the porch with those hay bales.
It really improved that house.
They've been watching a lot of Chip and JoJo.
You get a t-shirt. Follow me to Big John's house.
Allison stabs Myers in the back with a pitchfork, but that doesn't stop him, and he's about to kill Allison until Karen, Allison's mom, Lori's daughter, shows up, peels off Michael's beloved mask, and uses it as bait to make him follow her because he doesn't want to kill without his mask on. And she uses it to draw him about a block away, across the street behind some other houses, where a group of 20 or more Haddonfield residents led by Tommy Doyle and Sheriff Brackett, Charles Cyphers from the original movie. We saw him at the hospital earlier. He's now working as a hospital security guard, but he's waiting here now. Doctor, you and I got a chance to drink some cocktails with Charlie Cyphers a couple years ago. The guy is a national treasure.
Man, he was awesome. Cade and I met him at the Frightmare convention. He had a beer in each hand, regaled me with stories of Donald Pleasance, and he also, if you're familiar with the movie Major League, he plays the general manager in Major League. So, man, I was total fanboy. It was like the Chris Farley show on Saturday Night Live, where he's sitting there with Paul McCartney. He's like, "So, you're in the Beatles?" Yeah, that was awesome. That was me. I was like, "So you're in Major League?" Man, that was awesome. And he was totally. He was telling me how Margaret Whitten, the sexy chick that played the owner, how fun she was to be around, and he couldn't have been cooler. Great, awesome, nice guy. So I'm happy for him that he picked up a paycheck, but I
it was fun to see him. It was really fun to see him, and it made sense that he would be working as a security guard at.
He's like 83 or 84 years old. It made sense that he's at home. Nothing about this nothing about it made sense, and I wish he'd stayed at home.
You're in a small.
Love Charlie. Glad he took a
Jesus.
paycheck. Don't blame him for taking it. Wish he stayed at home.
He didn't want to retire. He still wanted to protect and serve at the hospital.
It's a small town. They don't have a lot of health insurance. Come on.
Ass.
His pension was shit. Well, she lures Michael into this group of 20 dudes led by Tommy and Brackett, and they're waiting for him with baseball bats, hockey sticks, and a few guns. Gotcha, Karen says, much like when she lured Michael into the basement in the previous film. She portrayed that she was weak and she couldn't shoot him, and that's what lured him into where she could shoot him and get him to fall down there. She's toying with him.
There
I got
should
you.
be somebody there with Big John's record player. Like, I'm gonna drop this on his head. I got Big John's record player. I'm gonna smash you with this.
Doctor, you got any more songs for us?
Never can tell.
Everyone starts beating the shit out of Myers. I mean, it's a street brawl, and it's 20 against 1.
It's a mob lynching.
They beat the shit out of Myers. They all get a turn. Brackett even says his famous line from Halloween, Michael, I guess we're all entitled to one good scare, which should, as a loyal diehard guy, like get me like, yeah. But I was like, would he really remember saying that in 78?
It was shit.
It was kind of shit. It looks like such a clearly evident defeat. Michael's on the ground, just completely. They shot his ass like 4 times.
They shot him like 4 times. Yeah, they beat.
It ends with Karen stabbing a butcher knife through his spine. She thinks, well, you know what? I've seen enough. I'm going to walk back over to the Myers house where the police have finally shown up to comfort my daughter, Allison. Well, we learn unless you chop his fucking head off, Michael Myers isn't dead. And you would think these people, especially Brackett and Tommy, would know that. So Michael slowly gets back up on his feet after being shot a half dozen times and all his bones broken, and slaughters the entire army of dudes one by one.
And I'll say it now. You don't assume because you've hit someone with a bat or whatever to, as they always say, you hear it said over and over in movies and television, execution style, 2 to the head. Always. Guys got guns. 3 of them had guns. 2 to the head. Ugh.
Well, and they wouldn't know anything about Myers' seemingly supernatural ability because in this movie, combined with the 2018 Halloween, there's only been one night of Michael Myers 40 years ago where he killed 3 people, got shot by Loomis, we don't know how many times, and then was taken into custody. So all of the things that happens to him in all of the other movies, just like all things that happen to Jason Voorhees,
That's fair.
they're not there. So we can't assume anything.
Surviving the fire, surviving the hospital fire in H2, they've discounted that. Surviving the 12,000 rounds of ammunition at the end of H4, they've discounted that. Surviving the Loomis bashing him with a 2x4 at the end of H5, they've discounted that.
Oh, that happened.
Never
happened.
They have no reason to believe he's nothing more than just an escaped convict who killed 5 people back in 1978.
The
That's
entire
fair.
scene is stupid and senseless.
But like I said before, Haddonfield, it's not a thriving metropolis. It's a small town is what they give. It's going to be that some of these people go hunting. If they go hunting, they're going to go hunting. You shoot them through the head. You shoot them through the neck. Now, I understand the nature of Myers, but still, I'm like, that was the first thing I thought of.
If I just saw some dude get shot 4 times and somebody stabbed him in the back of the spine with a knife right at the base of his neck, I'm probably thinking he's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. The characters make
Even if I saw someone shot 4 times and they said he's an evil son of a bitch, I'd still walk up and shoot him in the head.
It's literally, to us who know the character and know where this is going, it's easy to say, okay, you take that knife, you chop off his hands and feet, and then you chop off his head. But these characters, this angry mob doesn't have that kind of wherewithal. So they just assume because they shot him 6 times and beat the living shit out of him and stabbed him in the back of his spinal cord, he's dead.
And I think I said this to Kate. I was like, I really felt like, Bruce Campbell as Ash needs to come out. No, get an axe.
It's a trap. It's a trap. Get an axe. Yes. First of all, if Bruce Campbell did step in at this point as one of the townspeople and said, get an axe, that would have been awesome.
Yes. Yes, it would have been.
And it would still have been believable.
The
That would have
characters
saved the entire movie. That would have saved the movie. If right at the very end, they're ready to walk off, and all of a sudden, there's Campbell. He's up. It's a trap. Get an axe. I would have stood up and applauded.
The characters make several references in the film to young Michael staring out his sister's bedroom window for hours on end as a young boy. Some speculate that he was looking out the town, envisioning future massacres, while others theorize that he was actually looking at his own reflection in the glass. Well, I don't know what any of that means or has to do with anything because it was psychobabble bullshit. But for some reason, Karen, Lori's daughter, leaves her daughter, Allison, on the front porch where they're safely surrounded by cops and neighbors. And she goes upstairs at the Myers house to look out the legendary window for herself and see what all the psychobabble bullshit is about. And you guessed it, Michael appears behind her and kills her. Not the end. While it is the end of this movie, it's not the end. The third part of the trilogy called...
You missed it, buddy. Before he does that, he gets up and kills everybody.
Yeah, no, we already talked about that.
I got... Dude, he killed Tommy, he killed Brackett, he bench pressed himself off the ground, and if I skipped that, I'm sorry.
No, you didn't. It was unmemorable. I mean, the scene didn't make sense. And
once he was shot and once he was stabbed and once he was beaten and all those broken bones, he bench pressed himself off the ground and killed everybody.
Meanwhile, there's a weird monologue or narration by the dude, the sheriff in the hospital bed, talking about how Michael's evil and he grows stronger with each kill, and he starts planting the seed of the supernatural.
Actually,
Miles' character.
Actually, I think the doctor's right. I think I may have missed that. When Karen walks back across the street to care for her daughter, Myers, who's been shot, stabbed, and completely wrecked by this mob of dudes, bench presses himself off the ground and kills all of them.
Well, there were 50 earlier. Now there seems to be 7 or 8.
Well, they left because they thought he was dead.
I guess so. Yeah, it was poorly done. No matter how you cut it.
But they're all dead. He kills Tommy with his own baseball bat.
Poorly conceived, poorly executed.
But it does open up a very big question mark, which needs to be answered in the final film. We saw Myers get shot, a human get shot 6, 7, 8 times, stabbed in the back of the neck, and all his bones broken, and he got right up and kept killing. That's important to note. Halloween the next movie is called Halloween Ends. It will begin filming this January and will apparently jump ahead 4 years from the events of the first two films. I'm assuming so Laurie can run around without her intestines spilling out all over the place. Dude, that was something we didn't even talk about. Laurie, we actually get to see her surgery from her knife wound. We see her guts opened up on the surgery table. And literally an hour later, she's like, I got to get out there and do this. She rolls off that table and, dude, there's just no way.
Stitches and surgical glue. No, don't get me wrong. She could be hopped up on morphine for all we know, so she wouldn't feel it. But, at least they do address it in the mob scene in the hospital. She finally gets like punched in the gut and she falls over like, oh my God.
Yeah, by a doctor trying to get that guy like, get him away.
But at least to Yax's point, at least at first I thought she's going to join the hunt, and to Yax's point, she takes one good shove and she's finished. She's out of the fight. So at least they did that realistically.
I think a lot of this movie was orchestrated to fill the gap in this trilogy where Laurie can't do anything. Because I don't think the first movie was meant to be a trilogy, but it was so successful. They're like, let's spin this off into 2 more films. But you ended the first film with your protagonist getting her belly slit open. So she has to spend the whole movie in a hospital. But still, she did a lot of moving around for somebody that just had her gut cut open.
Like I said, her muscle was just in human anatomy. Her stomach, her abdomen, it was severed. That's weeks of basically doing nothing while it heals. And she got right up. That wasn't going to happen. That was not.
She zipped up her blue jeans and like, I'm back in it, baby.
So if they jump ahead 4 years, she'll be fully healed from her wounds. Hawkins will be fully healed from his wounds, and she'll be, it'll be her and her granddaughter, since her daughter is now dead. And I guess pretty much, who knows, Lindsay Wallace returned, but everybody else is dead.
I wonder though, because these movies are really great about people that you think are dead are not dead. I wonder if Karen really did die with Michael. Maybe she'll come back. Maybe she didn't die.
Stabbed 27 times.
There was a alternate ending to this film, which I thought might be kind of cool. Where after
he's not dead and he shows up and whoops everybody's ass.
No, after Michael kills Karen in his bed in his sister's bedroom at the Myers house, Laurie from the hospital calls her daughter and her cell phone rings, and Michael picks it up, much like in the first film where Laurie's trying to call her friends. And Laurie's trying to talk to her daughter, and all she hears is the shape breathe into the phone. And while I think that would have been a really cool moment, I think they're wise to not do that, because for a guy that's been incarcerated for 40 years, how do you explain that he knew where to push on an iPhone to answer the goddamn call?
Again, of all the things that are going to bother me, that at the end of the movie, I'm not even going to think about it.
Dude, if he killed Karen and her phone is ringing and it's her mom, Laurie from the hospital, that would have been a great tie-in. But how would this guy who hasn't seen technology in 40 years be like, swipe, answer?
No, I understand what you're saying. I get that. You're right. I'm just saying at the end of this movie, I'm not thinking about that at all anymore. I was waiting for it to end at that point.
Well, you know what I hope will never end, Doctor? My enjoyment every time I get lighting up a cigar for my beloved Drew Estate. And Drew Estate is about to make someone a whole lot richer. During its latest freestyle live show on the company's Facebook Live page, facebook.com/Drew Estate Cigar, Drew Estate announced that it will hold a Bitcoin sweepstakes with numerous incredible prizes during upcoming Freestyle Live events, including a grand prize of one full Bitcoin, 66 grand as of today, for a lucky fan to be announced during the February 17th, 2022 edition of Freestyle Live. Entry into the unheralded Drew Estate Bitcoin sweepstakes is simple. During each of the company's 3 upcoming Freestyle Live events, October 15th, that's in the past, but here's in the future, November 11th in 2021, and January 20th in 2022, the company will randomly select the names of 5 people who attend the online show and comment during specific times in each broadcast as the potential winners of an assortment of fantastic prizes. The 5 winners from each of these 3 shows will create the contestant pool of 15 people eligible to win the grand prize Bitcoin. How crazy is that? That's really crazy. Not just a little bit crazy.
I hear what you did there.
And while we're talking about super cool stuff, I'd also take a hot minute to once again let you know about something very cool, Cigar World. Cigar World is an online site for cigar smokers. There you can get cigar news, reviews, and a whole lot more. Also on the site is a cigar research panel called the Testing Lab. You can sign up and give your input on the new cigars by taking surveys and testing actual cigars. Check it out at cigarworld.com/testing lab. Man, as the second entry in a trilogy, I didn't really like this movie. It just featured a humongous death toll, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a slasher film after all. But I got the impression that the filmmakers felt like they did something more here, like
they definitely thought they did more.
A bigger mission, and doing what the filmmakers believe is a deep dive and examining how the Shape's actions, Michael Myers' actions 40 years ago have affected so many in the town of Haddonfield other than just Laurie. It fell kind of flat to me because we don't learn anything about how the other survivors have been dealing with their trauma. It's just boom. Hey, we're at a bar and we survived. Let's jump in a car and chase down the boogeyman. That's kind of weak sauce. There's so much time dedicated to Officer Hawkins' backstory. And for what? That whole flashback was to give him backstory. He's on a hospital bed the entire movie. And it's not till the very end that he reveals to Laurie that Michael wasn't, in fact, coming for her tonight, but that his loco doctor, Dr. Sartain, was behind it all. And we get no time with Laurie to let that soak in and see her fully realize, dude, her reaction to being wrong about almost everything for 4 decades, that deserved a moment. I wanted to see that register with Laurie that she spent 4 fucking decades worried about this guy when he wasn't even thinking about her. We didn't get that moment. We got a bunch of little moments about characters that we didn't care about. When Hawkins finally told Laurie his doctor brought him to you, he doesn't even know who you are. We didn't get any kind of resonant moment with Laurie. Am I right?
You're absolutely right. When you remove the original part 2 from the spectrum and remove that whole Halloween universe, which is something that, I know we're all familiar with comic books. Some of us are more than others understand it. But I mean, there's 4 different Halloween universes. When you remove 5, if you include the Tom Atkins movie, there's 4 universes with Myers. When you remove this universe where she is not his sister, and you just look at the original movie, it is accidental that he goes after her. She goes up to the Myers house and puts a key in the slot. And, maybe you can assume he's horny or whatever and likes teenage girls because he's 21 at the time, but he starts stalking her, but he doesn't know who she is. There's no tie-in. They bring in the sister thing in part 2. That's removed. So Now that that's removed, we definitely needed to see that. She spent her whole life. She becomes Sarah Connor with her daughter as John Connor with this compound. And it turns out he's not coming for her. When he escapes, he's going back to Haddonfield, his hometown and his house. He's going to fuck up anybody that gets in his way. And in that sense, there is something interesting where I can see that, Tommy Doyle sees it as him. He was the guy, and really, none of you were relevant. You were all equally irrelevant. There should have been more to that. There wasn't, as I mentioned to you about the 2018 movie, at an hour and 45 minutes, this movie is 12 to 15 minutes too long. These movies are better when they're at the 90-minute mark. I think it's stupid, but I am interested in seeing it a second time for a couple of reasons. One, I definitely did not appreciate the flashback as much as you did, Cade, and because we are Halloween junkie nerds, geeks, and well, all even better, we're thesis paper writers of Halloween. That's where we are. I want to go back and look at that whole thing just from a cinematic perspective. It is stupid because who cares what Hawkins is? It's like you said, he's in a hospital bed. I want to go back and look at that again. But I really feel Tut, that was really an interesting take that I didn't get, was because I felt like, and I do feel that David Gordon Green and Danny McBride meant to do this. And I think it's a failure, but then I'm wrong. It's not a failure because I think they've put so much emphasis on what we call Easter eggs and little shout outs and little things like this. And, oh, this is going to mean something to the fans. And to me, those are failures. But hearing Tut say, I was just, okay, they're telling me this story and that none of that meant anything to me. I really want to try and take that perspective. I'm going to go ahead and say, Tut, that may have been the salient point of the evening as far as I'm concerned. That may make me appreciate this movie more going forward because I told Cade didn't give anything away before tonight's show, but yesterday we just talked briefly and I said, man, I thought this was a piece of shit. And
well, it's still not going to cover up the piss poor execution of the mob scene at the hospital, or the fact that the whole pacing just falls wheels off at that point. But I enjoyed the movie. It's weird because I got to thinking about it. I was like, this is your guys' Star Wars. If you start fucking up Star Wars canon to me, I'm going to just get belligerent.
Yeah.
And so I can understand where people are like, hey, man, don't be messing up with my timeline.
Here's one thing real quick about that, though, Tut, and then I definitely want to hear what Kay has to say. Here's one thing about that. Star Wars really still has, as far as the movies, right, as far as what's been released theatrically, there still really is one universe.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
With Halloween, taking Tom Atkins and Halloween 3 out, this one is the fourth universe of Halloween. There's the original one. Then they reboot it with Halloween H2O and Resurrection. Then there's a third universe, which is Rob Zombie. And then this is the fourth. And so Cade really gave a great perspective at a much better context when he said, I just want to see a Halloween movie. And he mentioned some things that were shitty in the others. I'm like, okay, I got it. So they're not really fucking with it in that way, the way you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's
sorry.
No, Doctor, you're right. There's basically the first 3 films, which are canon, and then there's the Myers films, which you skip 3 and you go 1, 2, 4. Then there's the Thorn trilogy, which is 4, 5, and 6. Then nobody acknowledges part 8. It's just total shit.
Well, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 are all the same universe.
Yes. But when you start introducing Thorn in 5,
That's a wild deviation.
some say 5, 6, or 4, 5, 6 is its own entity. There's a gazillion universes here apparently, and I refuse to acknowledge the Rob Zombie. Those are cinematic abortions that I don't ever want to talk
Agreed.
about. But yeah, I actually got more out of tonight's discussion talking to Tut as a non-Halloween loyalist and diehard. It was really cool seeing how he viewed some of the stuff that they did. I actually kind of, without even watching it again, I kind of am seeing Halloween Kills in a different light just from Tut's eyes. So that was cool. The movie is chaotic. It's often fully blown, comically crazy, especially hanging out with the insanely pissed off mob, not so much Myers himself. But for a film called Halloween Kills, it's also bloody, gory as hell. The body count is sky high, by far the highest body count of any Halloween movie, almost 30. Often creative. Like I said, dudes getting stabbed in their eyeballs, Big John the armpit, and then he got his eyes out. As a pure slasher flick, it really delivers the goods. My last thought, as far as, and do this, brace yourselves. As far as my prediction for next year's Halloween Ends, which is the final film in the trilogy, stick with me on this because I'm about to sound like a crazy person. All right. After the box office and critical failure of 1982's Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, a very reluctant John Carpenter, under the threat of legal action from producers, was once again forced to participate in the development of Halloween 4 and figure out a way to make producers happy by bringing back Michael Myers to the franchise and give the fans what they desperately wanted, the Man in the Mask. They hated Halloween 3. We got to bring back Michael. So he hired Dennis Etchison, who Stephen King once anointed the most original living horror writer in America, to write a Halloween 4 screenplay, which was a logical fit as Etchison had written the fantastic novelizations for both Halloween 2, which I've read about 5,000 times, Halloween 3, which goes way more into Dan Chalice and the end events of Halloween 3. And he wrote the novelization for Carpenter's The Fog, which is also highly enjoyable. These are all great books, and I've read them all a million times since I was a kid. So anywho, and by the way, all this information I'm about to drop on you is from Taking Shape. Look at the size of that fucking book, Tut. You got textbooks smaller than this. This is a book all about the making of the original Halloween films. And Taking Shape 2, this shit is 2,000 pages of the original Halloween scripts that didn't get made. I can't speak enough about these books and the guys that put them together. And while I was putting together all my fun stuff, check this out. They made The Legend of Halloween kids book, like a Dr. Seuss book. I got this through a giveaway on the Halloween, autographed by David Gordon Green, the director of the film. But dude, it's totally written as a kid's book of the story of Myers.
Nice.
He walked into his sister's room holding a large knife. He plunged it deep into her chest and ended Judith's life. I can't read this shit to my kids. Are you kidding me?
Sounds like it was designed that way.
But dude, it's so kid friendly. But yeah, no, I'm gonna wait on that. But anyway, this movie made me dig deep into my Halloween archives, and here's what I found. And I think, man, this would be crazy, but what if they went here? Because at the end, he's been stabbed in the back. He's been shot 6 times. All his bones are broken with bats and hockey pucks. What if they're going in this direction in the last film? Etchison turned in a script that took place 10 years after the original 78 film. With the town of Haddonfield still paralyzed in fear from the Shape, who supposedly burned alive with Dr. Loomis at the end of Halloween 2, but the bodies were so crispy that they couldn't be identified. Halloween celebrations are banned, and even speaking of that night in 78 is not allowed in Haddonfield, which causes intense trauma within teenagers Tommy Doyle and Lindsay Wallace. But a local drive-in on the outskirts of town decides to hold a horror movie marathon on Halloween night, despite an outcry from local parents and city officials. And during that film fest, Michael Myers not only returns to slaughter teens from parked car to parked car at the drive-in, but when he's fired on by Sheriff Brackett and Dr. Now Detective Hunt, he's been promoted from Halloween 2. The bullets somehow make him stronger, and he grows over 12 feet tall. It turns out that the town's fear makes him grow stronger. Carpenter said of this script in Fangoria magazine, it was an excellent script, but it didn't include Michael Myers. The premise was that the adult's fear caused the Shape to reappear. He was created by the dark side of the adults in Haddonfield, by their fear of life and the fear of something different. Tell me that's not where they're headed at the end of this movie. Tell me in Halloween Ends next year, we're not going to get a 12-foot tall King Kong Michael Myers that's just...
I might have read all variable materials that in their working of this. So they're trying to use kind of what everybody has done.
Hey, they stole Bringing Back Tommy and Lindsay from this script that Dennis just wrote. Dude, tell me
I was about to say, I actually think they probably have written it, and they might not bring back a 12-foot tall Myers, but I think that's where they're going.
The fear of the community is fueling Myers to become...
That was the whole in the last slaughter scene where he's slaughtering the 8 people after miraculously getting off the ground. You have the sheriff from his hospital bed narrating that exact thing. It was like he grows stronger with every kill. He grows stronger.
You're right. Laurie says it too.
Yeah.
Laurie says it too. Like he's become something more than a mortal person.
Which is, to me, it's a shame. I don't want to see Michael Myers go that route, but what are you going to do?
I think he's going to be 12 feet tall and Godzilla.
So are we saying, what if he's not 12 feet tall, but we're saying that he is a physical, corporeal being, but he lives, he gets up and fights because everybody's scared of him?
That's where he gets his power. It becomes supernatural, and at that point, I really don't care.
At this point, who gives a fuck?
Dude, here's what Laurie says at the end of tonight's movie. I always thought Michael Myers was flesh and blood like you and me, but a mortal man could not have survived what he's lived through. The more he kills, the more he transcends into something else impossible to defeat. Fear. People are afraid. That is the true curse of Michael.
Where
You
they're
can't
headed.
you can't defeat it with brute force. It is the essence of evil, the anger that divides us. It is the terror that grows stronger when we try to hide. If they don't stop him tonight, maybe we'll find him tomorrow or next Halloween when the sun sets and someone is alone. You can't close your eyes and pretend he isn't there because he is. I think Halloween ends with a fucking 12-foot Michael Myers impervious to all pain.
So wasn't that basically what happens in Ghostbusters with the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? Like the Gozer says,
I couldn't help it. It just popped in my head.
You just thought of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and all of a sudden there's a 50-foot Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Is that where we're going with this? Jesus Christ!
We'll see. I think so.
I don't care anymore.
The town's
At this point, yes, it could absolutely happen.
well, these filmmakers have really put themselves in a quagmire because he's always been flesh and blood, and now after that last beatdown, and when he gets up from it, you've made him something else. You've crossed the line into Jason Voorhees territory. Michael was never that guy, but now you've crossed into where, Jason's a zombie and now Michael's a zombie. It's going to be really cool to see how they kind of, I don't know if it's going to be very cool.
Yeah,
it's
I
going
don't
to
know how cool it's going to be.
I don't know how cool it's going to be.
We'll be there. We'll be there.
But we'll be there. Man, they've kind of backed themselves into a corner with that last scene. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed us kind of riffing on Halloween Kills. It is a very big departure from what we usually do. We don't get it all right, and we're just kind of going off our memory of sitting in theater and watching the film. But hopefully, if you're a fan of the series or a fan of us, you had a good time. Tut! Give us some links.
Man, I had a good time, and if you want to have a good time, then what you need to do is you need to subscribe to us on Twitter at TNCCcast. Join us on Facebook, Tuesday Night Cigar Club. Join us on Instagram at TNCC_podcast. And then you want to subscribe to us on YouTube, Tuesday Night Cigar Club. If you want to buy any of the cigars that you hear featured on the show, you can go to Famous Smoke Shop. Actually, go to the TuesdayNightCigarClub.com website, click on the Famous Smoke Shop banner. It'll enter a promo code for you, TNCC20, which will get you $20 off any purchase of $100 or more. That's like 20%, and it's a dang good deal.
It is a dang good deal. This concludes our 7th annual Boorific and Spooktacular Drunken March to Halloween. Thank you guys for joining us. Man, we featured a monster. We featured a satanic heavy metal rock band. And then we ended it all with the one and only boogeyman, Michael Myers. And I think, I think we really covered it all because it was cool having some non-diehard fans like Tut giving us kind of his perspective. I'm with Mitzi. That was kind of cool to see how he saw it.
Well, I always appreciate listening to you guys talk about it. You guys are freaking theologians on this stuff, so it's always cool.
But it's always cool to get your perspective on it for something that we're so kind of irresponsibly crazy about because we've just lived it our whole lives. So this was cool. This was fun. I will leave you with this. We'll be back in 2 weeks with I am going to give us a break. We will not do a horror movie in 2 weeks. We'll do something different. But this March to Halloween has been special. It's been fun. So thank y'all for joining us. May the wings of liberty never lose a feather. Sayonara, motherfuckers. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye.
Man, these guys really know their Halloween movies. However, I did not hear them mention the unproduced screenplay I wrote many blood red moons ago, titled Halloween 69, Season of the Bitch. In my film, Michael Myers had finally gotten tired of just stabbing guys after all these years, so he changed gears and started inviting young dudes out for drinks, and then after some laughs and a few champagne coolies, old Mikey would just bite off their wieners. Nobody's dong was safe in Haddonfield on that fateful night, and it was left up to Dr. Samuel No Pants to save the day. It was riveting stuff, boys and ghouls, and as usual, the powers that be in Hollyweird rejected yours truly for bringing something new and vibrant to the table. Yeah, vibrant. What a bunch of scared little bitches. Anywho, to learn more about the cigars enjoyed on tonight's episode, please visit Cohiba.com. For more on O'Brien's Irish Pub, the live music leader in Central Texas, please visit o'brienstemple.com and download their free smartphone app, where you'll find full beer listings including over 40 on tap, menu information, and a calendar of upcoming live events. To listen and purchase music heard on tonight's program, check out www.fritzbeermusic.com. Thank you for listening to the Tuesday Night Cigar Club podcast. This is Keith A. Howell saying until next time, friends, unless we see you sooner at the pub. So keep it smoky, and for God's sake, keep it ballsy as well.